You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of, What If Naruto Enters Undertale? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Hussbek on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Naruto got up from bed with a loud yawn and stretched himself a bit before looking at the time on his phone to see that it read 8 a.m. in the morning. He used at how being in the underground might be messing with his sense of timing before getting off and approached a still sleeping Frisk to wake her while Nika also stirred awake. "Wake up Frisk-chan, it's morning I think," said Naruto. Frisk woke up with a loud yawn. "Good morning Naruto and Nikken." "Same to you, go and freshen up. We'll take a look around the town for anything useful before heading out." "Okay." Frisk made her way to the bathroom to get herself cleaned up while Naruto waited his turn until she's done. The duo were soon cleaned and dressed up before making their way out of the inn. Naruto led Frisk to the shop next door to stock up on supplies amongst other things, but Nikken had to wait outside but assured they would return soon. "Why hello there travelers, how may I help you?" The duo welcomed by a monster being a purple bunny wearing a tank top, small necklace around her neck, and a summer hat. "Hello, we'd like to buy a few things," said Naruto politely. "Why of course, we have several wares that would be of use to you." The vendor gestured to the shelves of materials and wares behind her. Naruto looked at the items carefully. Tough gloves, 50G. Manly bandana, 50G. Bicycle, 15G. Cinnamon bunny, 25G. While he was planning over what to buy, Frisk decided to ask the vendor some questions out of curiosity. What is there to do around here?" "Well, Grillby's has food, and the library has information." "Oh, but how did this town come to be then?" A long time ago the monsters used to live in the ruins, then we all decided to leave to head for the end of the caverns. Though some of the fuzzy folk decided they liked the cold and set up here, and that's how Snowdin town was built." "But, are you okay here?" asked Frisk, wondering how they lived here for so long. "Well, life is the same as usual, a little claustrophobic, but we all know deep down that freedom is coming. As long as we got that hope, we can grit our teeth and face the same struggles, day after day." The vendor smiled down at Frisk. "That's life, ain't it?" Yes." Naruto then spoke up. "Okay, we'll take the manly bandana, 2 of the bicycle, and 2 of the cinnamon bunny. Coming right up, I'm sure you'll love the cinnamon bunny since it's my own recipe. That will be 130G. Naruto handed over the money and received the purchased items to put them into his waist pack, then wrapping the bandana around his neck for warmth. "Thank very much." "No problem at all, be sure to come again." The shopkeeper bade them farewell as they left the shop. Naruto and Frisk were back outside with Nikken walking up to them, then the latter spoke up with a question. "Where do we go next Naruto?" asked Frisk. Naruto was about to reply when someone called out to them. "Yo!" They turned to see a young reptilian monster with no arms, a tail, and spikes running along his head, and wearing a yellow shirt with brown horizontal stripes and a pair of brown trousers run up to them. "Haven't seen you two around here before, so I guessed you must be new." "Yes we are, I'm Naruto Uzumaki and she's Frisk along with my Lupin buddy Nikken." Naruto introduced himself and the others. "Hello," Frisk waved in greeting and Nikken barked with the same intention. "Well, I'm Monster Kid, but you can call me MK, you guys wanna hang out?" asked Monster Kid. "We'd like to, but we're heading for the library to learn about a couple of things before heading out somewhere." Oh, the young monster felt a bit saddened, hearing that. "But we'll definitely hang out some other time," Naruto quickly assured him, not wanting to sadden him. "That's nice to hear dude, guess I'll catch you two later." Monster Kid scampered off, stumbling slightly before regaining balance. "Let's get going Frisk," said Naruto, getting a nod of affirmation from her. They soon located the library and went inside with Nikken staying out yet again. Naruto and Frisk took a couple of books and began reading through them to find out more about the underground and its current residents. Naruto was reading off a red book which seemed to be a school report of sorts. Monster funerals, technically speaking, are as cool as heck. When monsters get sick and kick the bucket, they turn into dust. At funerals, we take that dust and spread it on that person's favorite thing. Then their essence will live on in that thing. Am I at the page minimum yet? I'm kinda sick of writing this. Like humans, monsters turn into dust upon death, but it's instant compared to the long duration it would take for a human body to turn to dust, said Naruto thoughtfully. Frisk was also reading from a blue book. While monsters are mostly made of magic, human beings are made of water. Humans with their physical forms are stronger than us, but they'll never know the joy of expressing themselves through magic. They'll never get a bullet pattern birthday card. So that's why they can use magic, their bodies are mostly made of it. Guess I won't be able to get Toriel to teach me how to use magic then, thought Frisk a bit sadly. Naruto picked up an orange book to read after dropping yellow book which frankly didn't contain much of anything inside. Because they're made of magic, monsters' bodies are more attuned to their soul. If a monster doesn't want to fight, its defenses will weaken. And the crueler the intentions of our enemies, the more their attacks will hurt us. Therefore, if a being with a powerful soul struck with the longing to kill. Let's end the chapter here. Naruto was now alarmed at this information. Had we gone along with what Floey said without thinking things through, many monsters would have lost their lives out of our ignorance. He looked at his bandaged hands which were shaking before willing them to stop along with taking a deep breath and exhaling to calm himself, feeling ever more determined to not kill but defend himself and the others. Frisk's next book to be read is a light green one. Monster History Part 4. Fearing the humans no longer, we moved out of our old city, home. We braved harsh cold, damp swampland and searing heat until we reached what we now called our capital, new home. Again, our king is really bad at names. So, the ruins used to be where all the monsters lived before moving away. But did Toriel remain there when they left or she went there after what the king started doing to the humans before Naruto and I, thought Frisk. Naruto was now reading a dark green book which is the last of the heap on the table. Love, hope, compassion, this is what people say monster souls are made of. But the absolute nature of soul is unknown. After all, humans have proven their souls don't need these things to exist. The young blonde knew well what this meant and was unable to refute as he is well aware that humanity isn't without a dark side, a side which never fails to make its presence known day by day. Naruto and Frisk left the library, being a bit more aware of the underground and the monster living within it. They figured that it was time that they left Snowdin town to resume their journey to find their way out of the underground and back to the surface. The trio had just gone past a house and reaching the town's border when they saw someone ahead of them, standing in their way. Papyrus? Asked Frisk curiously upon recognizing who it is ahead of them. Papyrus stood there silently for a few moments before finally speaking up. Humans and not so annoying dog, allow me to tell you about complex feelings. Feelings like, the joy of finding another pasta lover, the admiration for another's puzzle-solving skills, the longing to have a cool and smart person think you're cool too. These feelings, they must be what you're feeling right now. I think he's referring to himself, thought Naruto with a sweat drop. I can hardly imagine what it must be like to feel that way. I am very great after all. I don't ever wonder what having lots of friends is like, so you have my pity. But fear not, for I the great Papyrus will be your dash. Papyrus suddenly stopped in mid-sentence with a frown appearing on his skeletal face. Is something the matter, Papyrus? Asked Frisk with concern. Papyrus shook his head. No, this is all wrong. I can't be your friend. Naruto quirked an eyebrow at that. What makes you say that? You're humans and I am supposed to capture you both and deliver to the king. Then I can finally fulfill my dream, to be popular, powerful, prestigious. That is who I am, Papyrus, the newest member of the royal guard. Upon his declaration, Naruto and Frisk's souls emerged from their bodies to hover before them, signaling a fight. The duo started by selecting ACT and using checking to get some info on Papyrus. Papyrus. He likes to say, "Nye hehe." Naruto reached to unsheath his Bakken but hesitated with the same going for Frisk and Nikken after everything about the monsters and their fondness for the goofy skeleton. Papyrus noted how the humans and wolf pup showed no signs of aggression. "Oh ho, so you won't fight eh? It would be disrespectful to not hold back on my opponents in battle." Papyrus waved a hand to make a triad of bones to rise from the ground and launch at them. Naruto and the others quickly jumped over the bones to avoid getting hit by them. Again, he launched yet another triad of bones which missed their targets. "If we keep this up, we could wear him down," said Naruto. "I hope so, I really don't want to fight him," said Frisk. "Still refusing to fight? Then let's see if you can handle my fabled blue attack." Papyrus declared as he waved both hands to conjure multiple light blue glowing bones of varying lengths from the ground and in the air, then remotely sending to attack the duo. Knowing to avoid damage from this kind of attack, Naruto and Frisk stood completely still for the bones to phase through them harmlessly without any effect whatsoever. Suddenly the color of their souls turned from red to blue and a sense of gravity came over their bodies, almost taking their knees buckle. Nikken's ears perked up at the sound of something approaching and turned to see what it is before quickly tackling Naruto to the side right before a small bone whizzed past where he was standing. "Thanks for the save, Nikken," said Naruto gratefully with the wolf pup wagging its tail happily. "What just happened to our souls?" asked Frisk, confusedly looking at her now blue soul. "You're blue now, that's my attack." "Nye he 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 he." Papyrus cackled with pride of his attack. "I know Sans warned us about this, but we weren't expecting something like this. Kinda wish he could have given more hints," Naruto muttered as he made up his mind and unsheathed his Bakken. Papyrus summoned a series small bones and launched them towards the duo. Naruto positioned himself in front of Frisk with the Bakken held in a stance, then his father's voice echoed in his mind. "Listen son, a sword can do more than just slice and dice, it can be both a weapon of offense as well as defense. However, it requires guidance from you. You need to be calm and aware of your surroundings at all times. One's origin and destination are vital to decide whether to choose a path of attacking or a path of defending." Naruto's eyes narrowed along with a sense of calm as he channeled his inner focus, then he swung the Bakken with timing to deflect the incoming bone projectiles away from them. Papyrus launched several more towards them along with a few medium-sized bones in addition. Again, the blonde deflected the bones, albeit applying more strength for the medium ones. "I suggest you try jumping if you wish to avoid being hit by the might of my attacks lest you face defeat," said Papyrus before making bones emerge from the ground and rush towards them. "But can we really jump with how heavy we're feeling?" asked Frisk, feeling unsure about this. "There's only one way to find out," said Naruto. Nikken crouched slightly in preparation to jump along with them. They jumped over the first two small bones easily enough. The next three medium-sized bones required more effort, but the next three were taller and larger, which made them worry a bit, but decided to chance it as they leapt into the air and were actually surprised that they were able to get over it before landing on the ground without hurting themselves. "How were we able to do that? I never jumped that high before." Frisk was surprised at what just happened. Naruto looked at his blue soul. "It must have to do with what Papyrus did to our souls, which affected what our bodies can do. Best we use this to our advantage for now." "Okay. So, you were able to dodge that. Let us see if your luck will be on your side before I use my special attack," said Papyrus boasted. The trio jumped over a medium bone and quickly ducked below a tall bone approaching from overhead. Naruto rapidly deflected three small bones heading their way. They heard something rushing from behind and jumped very high into the air for a tall bone to pass underneath them to avoid a surprise attack. Papyrus really began mixing things up as the group were jumping over the medium bones and prepared to move when a light blue bone rushed at them, taking the humans and wolf pup by surprise and knocking them to the ground. "Ow, should have seen that coming." Naruto got back to his feet and turned to Frisk and Nikken. "Are you two okay?" Frisk got up and nodded in affirmation. "It hurts a bit but I'm okay." Nikken barked to show he's fine too. We need to watch out for the blue attacks mixed with the normal ones. He may be a bit goofy but he knows what he's doing, said Naruto thoughtfully. Papyrus was feeling confident about his eventual accomplishment. I can almost taste my future popularity. Papyrus, the head of the royal guard and unparalleled spagator. Undyne will be proud of me, the king will trim a hedge in the shape of my smile, my brother will, well, he won't change very much. I'll have lots of admirers, but, he looked at the human with uncertainty, how will I know if people sincerely like me? People like you two are really rare, I don't think they'll let you go after you're captured and sent away. Then he shook his head to clear away the reluctance niggling at the back of his mind. Ugh, who cares? Give up. Things got a bit more hectic as Papyrus was now making the bones shoot out from the where the trio stood. They could only tell when they felt the ground shaking underneath and jumped away before the bones emerged to attack them. Series of bones from the ground and overhead rushed towards them. Naruto and Ko took note of the narrow gaps in between them and used their enhanced jumping ability to go through it and landed just as a blue bone rushed up to them but managed to stay still for it to phase through them. Give up or face my special attack, Papyrus let out a warning. No can do, Papyrus, Naruto responded. He saw Papyrus summon multiple white and light blue bones above his head and launched them like spears. The blonde positioned himself in front of Frisk and focused deeply. He deflected 3 white bones in rapid succession with his Bakken, then had Frisk and Nikken become still for the light blue bones to pass through them harmlessly before quickly deflecting more of the white bones following after them. This is your last warning until I use my special attack. Naruto simply smirked in response. Bring it on. We can take it. In that case, behold my special attack. Papyrus dramatically announced with a wave of his hand. The group braced themselves for what's to come, only for nothing to appear, much to the confusion of everyone, especially Papyrus. They heard the sound of chewing and looked to see a small white dog chewing on a bone behind Papyrus. Where did that dog come from? Asked Frisk curiously. What the heck? That's my special attack. Papyrus glared at the dog. Hey you, stupid dog. Stop munching on that bone. The dog realized it's been noticed and ran off with the bone. Where are you going? Come back here with my special attack. Now I get why Papyrus was so tense around Nikken. Guess this isn't the first time either, said Naruto with a sweat drop. Nikken tilted his head at what just happened. Frisk nodded. I feel bad for him. Papyrus let out a sigh of resignation. I guess I'll have to use a cool regular attack. Here it comes. 2 pairs of small white bones approached from the front and the back. The group were quick to jump over them with proper timing before ducking under a couple of tall bones swooping in from above and stood still for a light blue bone to pass through, then took to the air when a pair of tall bones came in with a pincer attack from both sides. Suddenly the white dog ran past them as if being chased, and they saw a cluster of bones spelling out the words, "Cool dude," which they jumped over before avoiding a bone riding a skateboard. They looked further ahead to be surprised upon seeing a large crowd of bones heading their way. I'm not sure we can jump over these ones, said Frisk unsurely. I know we can, we just have to believe in ourselves. Naruto held Frisk's hand in confidence as Nikken jumped to his shoulder. We go on the count of 3, ready? Okay. Naruto crouched slightly at the ready as the bones approached them, again as unaware of the flash of white light from his left eye. We jump in 1 2 3, he and Frisk took a running start and leapt into the air higher and farther than what they had done before. It looked like they were going to make it when Naruto noted that Frisk wasn't going to land properly, so he quickly pulled her close to hold her in a bridal carry, with the girl yelping in surprise and blushing as he landed on the ground with a skid before letting her off. They looked to see that Papyrus was panting quite a bit. Well Huff, it's clear you're incapable of defeating me. I can see you all quiver in fear, but worry no more, for I, the great Papyrus, have decided to spare you humans and dog. Now would be the opportune moment to accept my mercy, said Papyrus. Okay Papyrus, we surrender, said Frisk with a soft smile. Yeah, we're no match for you, Naruto added. Papyrus nodded in acceptance, but then turned around with his shoulders slumped and let out a sigh of depression, much to the surprise of the others. Nayu. What's the matter Papyrus? Asked Naruto. I can't even stop humans as weak as you two are. Undyne's going to be disappointed in me. I'll never join the Royal Guard and my friend quantity will remain stagnant. The trio felt sad for the skeleton, then Frisk spoke up, well, we can be your friends if you'd like us to. Papyrus turned around to look at them in surprise and a bit of hope. Really, you want to be friends with me? Why not? You're a great guy to hang out with, said Naruto with a shrug. Wow, I have friends. Who knew that all I had to do to make them was to give them awful puzzles and fight them, asked Papyrus happily. Pretty sure that there are other ways to befriend people other than that, thought Naruto with a sweat drop. You both have taught me a lot, so I hereby grant you permission to pass through and even give you directions to the surface. We'd like that, said Frisk gratefully. Papyrus pointed at the pathway behind him. Continue forward until you reach the cavern, then you will arrive at the capital where you'll need to cross the barrier. Barrier? Asked Naruto with a quirked eyebrow. It's the magical seal that traps us all underground. Anything can enter through it but nothing can exit except someone with a powerful soul like you. That's why the king wants to acquire a human. He wants to open the barrier with soul power, then us monsters can return to the surface. I see. Naruto recalled the warning Toriel said about Askari, which could relate to this, but wondered why she didn't tell them about the barrier before they left the ruins. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, to reach the exit, you will have to pass through the king's castle and past the king himself. What's the king like? Asked Frisk curiously. Papyrus hummed in thought. He's a big fuzzy pushover. Everybody loves that guy. I'm certain if you just say, excuse me Mr. Dreamer, can I please go home? He'll guide you right to the barrier himself. Sounds like a nice guy, said Naruto, but frowned mentally. I guess we'll meet with the king no matter what, and there's still so much that we don't know as of now. Anyway, that's enough talking. I'll be at home being a cool friend, feel free to come by and hang out. Nye he 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 he. Papyrus practically floated over their heads and made his way back to the town. What do we do now? Should we keep going? Asked Frisk. Guess we could head back to rest a bit while I use the save point. You can hang out with Papyrus while I do so, Naruto suggested. The trio made their way back into town, where Naruto dropped Frisk off at Papyrus' home and headed over to the save point with Nikken and accessed it. They were making their way back when they came across Sans, who was leaning on the wall of the Grillby's pub and greeted with a lazy wave of the hand. Hey there kiddo, where's your girlfriend? Asked Sans. Naruto took a step back with a blush on his cheeks. What do you mean by that? Exactly what I meant, she's a girl and she's your friend. The skeleton winked, clearly showing that he knew how he was asking the question. Naruto let out a groan. Ugh, and I thought you were Frisk-chan is hanging out with Papyrus and I was on my way there after checking on something. That's pretty swell. I'm actually going in to have a bite to eat and was wondering if you'd like to join me, said Sans. Naruto thought for a few moments before responding with a shrug. Sure, I can hang with you for a bit. Alright then, let's get inside. Naruto and Nikken followed Sans inside the pub, where they saw the canine monsters which Naruto and Ko had met in the forest. The canine monsters, save for Doggo, greeted Naruto and Nikken with affectionate licks and nuzzles before resuming their card games, while Sans greeted the other patrons with a skeleton joke to amuse them before calling out to Naruto. Come over here kiddo, get comfy. Sans went to sit on a bar stool. Naruto went to sit on the other next to him, only for a loud fart to be heard, much to his surprise and embarrassment. Careful where you sit, sometimes weirdos put whoopee cushions on the seats. Yeah, who would have expected that, said Naruto sarcastically, already knowing the culprit. Anyways, let's order. What would you like? Fries or burger? I'll take a burger, said Naruto. Sounds pretty good. Sans called out to the bartender at the other side of the counter, who appears to be a humanoid monster made entirely out of red flames. Hey Grillby, we'll have a double order of burg. Grillby nodded in affirmation before walking to the kitchen, while Sans uses a comb on his head for who knows what reason before deciding to ask Naruto something. So, what do you think of my brother so far? Asked Sans. He's a pretty nice guy, someone you'll never regret befriending, Naruto responded with a smile. Sans chuckled. That's my bro alright. Grillby soon returned with a platter of 2 plates of burgers and a bottle of ketchup. Want some ketchup on your burger? Naruto shook his head. Nah, I'm good. Well, more for me. Sans went on to drink the entire bottle of ketchup in one go with Naruto and Nikken looking at him silently before the blonde broke off a piece of the burger and gave it to the wolf pup to eat. You know, my bro tries really hard like how he tries to be a member of the royal guard. One day, he went to the house of the head of the royal guard and begged her to let him be in it. Of course, she shut the door on him since it was midnight. But the next day, she woke up and saw him still waiting there. Whoa, gotta give him kudos for being persistent, said Naruto. Yeah, after seeing such dedication, she decided to give him warrior training. It's, still a work. If you say so. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you something. What is it? Have you heard of a talking flower? Asked Sans. Naruto immediately thought of Floey and wondered if Sans was talking about him. Yeah, Frisk and I have. So you know about it, the echo flower. The blonde blinked, realizing he misunderstood the question, but Sans continued. However, they're all over the marsh, say something to them and they'll repeat it over and over. Well, Papyrus told me something the other day. Sometimes when nobody's around, a flower comes and whispers things to him, flattery, advice, encouragement, predictions. Weird, don't you think? I see what you mean, said Naruto with a small frown. Someone must be using an echo flower to play a trick on my brother. Be sure to keep an eye out, okay? Said Sans, receiving a nod of affirmation from the blonde. Sans got off the seat. Welp, it's been a long break and I gotta be heading back to my station. Oh, by the way, I'm kinda broke, so can you foot the bill for me? It's just a 10,000 G. Naruto's sweat dropped at the request. I would love to, but I'm kinda short on cash myself. I was just joshing with ya. I'll have Grillby put it on my tab, said Sans with a playful wink. He made his way to the door, then stopped to turn to Naruto and Nikken. By the way, I was going to say something, but I forgot. Then he left the pub. He can be quite random at times. Naruto shook his head in amusement before frowning in thought, but what he said raises a lot of questions. Is someone really using an echo flower to trick Papyrus? Or is Floey pretending to be echo flower to manipulate him? Floey is obviously up to something, I just don't know what it is. Naruto snapped out of his thoughts and hopped off the bar stool. Oh well, we'll figure it out along the way. Let's go pick up Frisk-chan and head out. Nikken, the wolf pup, barked in response before they proceeded to make their exit from the pub. They just came out of the pub when Naruto heard his phone ring, much to his surprise, and immediately answered it. Hello. Hello. Can I speak to G? Wait a second, it is the wrong number. I think so, but who are dash? Naruto was interrupted by the caller suddenly singing. Oh, it's the wrong number. The wrong number song. We're very, very sorry. That we got it wrong. Oh, it's the wrong number. The wrong number song. We're very, very sorry. That we got it wrong. The caller then ended the call with Naruto looking at the screen with no phone number and felt nothing but confusion. What the heck was that all about? Nikken tilted his head in response to the question. Never mind, let's just go and pick up Frisk. They resumed their walk towards Papyrus and Sans' house to pick up Frisk. Upon picking Frisk up from Papyrus and Sans' home with the girl happily telling the fun she had with the friendly skeleton, the trio resumed their journey with their now set destination being the capital where the king whom Toriel warned them about laid in wait. They continued onwards till they noted the change in geography as the snow no longer crunched underneath their feet. The temperature changed to a much more tolerable level with a river next to them carrying chunks of ice cubes along in the current. I guess we're out of Snowdin now, said Naruto thoughtfully. Yeah, I wonder where we are, said Frisk in wonder. Hey, it's you guys again, a familiar voice called out to them. They turned to see Monster Kid smiling at them. MK, what are you doing here? Asked Naruto. Well, I snuck out to see her. Frisk tilted her head in curiosity. Who? Undyne, the captain of the royal guard. She's the coolest and I heard she's around here in Waterfall, said Monster Kid with eyes full of admiration. I see. Naruto kept this info at the back of his mind for later upon recalling that he heard the name several times from Papyrus. By the way, I heard something from an echo flower about something hidden behind rushing water. Got any idea what it means? Asked Monster Kid. Hard to say, but it's something to keep in mind. Sure, but don't tell my parents I'm here, said Monster Kid nervously. Okay, but you would need to get home soon, said Frisk. Sure thing. Naruto and Frisk along with Nikken continued on their way when they came across San snoozing at another sentry station, which even confused Nikken as they could recall that he was stationed back at Snowdin Forest. Regardless, Naruto spotted a save point and went to access it. The sound of rushing water fills you with determination. Save? Yes/no. He confirmed his save before they moved on. They came upon a dimension box but didn't feel any need to use it as of now. The group found themselves standing before a waterfall and realized that they need to wade through to get to the other side, but the problem was that numerous rocks floated down from above and threatened to push them off. Naruto then remembered something. Didn't MK say that the Echo Flower mentioned something hidden behind rushing water? Asked the blonde. I remember him saying that. You think there's something behind the waterfall? Asked Frisk. Only one way to find out. Naruto reached into his waistpack and took out his phone, which he turned on its flashlight feature before shining it on the waterfall to note that the light shone through it to reveal a hidden tunnel. Guess he was right. But how do you get there? It's all about timing. Naruto looked at the rocks falling from the waterfall before quickly moving to avoid them and entering the tunnel with Frisk and Nikken soon. Following, they entered a room illuminated by glowing mushrooms and found something laying on the ground, which they examined closely to see what it is. It's an old tutu like ballerina dancers use, said Frisk. Old tutu, finally a protective piece of armor. Must have belonged to one of the humans before us, said Naruto thoughtfully, albeit frowning sadly at what might have happened to the original owner before folding it up and placing inside his waistpack. It could be useful later on. They exited the hidden room to the other side of the waterfall towards the next area being a cave, hallway, and were going through a patch of tall grass when they heard footsteps coming from a steep cliff above and stood still to listen to it carefully. The trio were surprised to hear Papyrus talk, although with a nervous tone, to somebody. It seems. Hi Undyne, I'm here with my daily report regarding the human I called about earlier. They couldn't hear the other person speak. Did I fight them? Of course I did, I fought them valiantly. Did I capture them? Well, no, I didn't. I tried very hard, but, in the end I failed. Whatever the unknown person said must have taken Papyrus by surprise. What, you're going to take the human souls yourself? The kind skeleton appealed to her, but Undyne, you don't have to destroy them. You see. I understand, I will help you in any way I can, said Papyrus before walking away in sadness. Naruto and Frisk were now worried that this Undyne would be after them with more aggression compared to the other monsters. Frisk mistakenly moved her arms, which caused the bushes to rustle, with Naruto grabbing her in a panic to remain quiet. However, there was the sound of metal clanking, with Naruto and Frisk carefully peering through the bush only to flinch upon seeing a black human-like silhouette with a right eye glowing ominously while holding a blue spear of energy, and was looking around for the source of the sound. We can't let her find us, thought Naruto with tension while holding a frightened Frisk and Nikken close to him. The figure continued to look around till it was sure that there was nothing there before walking away and disappearing into the darkness. Naruto cautiously poked his head out of the bushes to confirm that she's truly gone before they got out of the bushes. Suddenly Monster Kid jumped out of the bushes excitedly, surprising them since they weren't aware that he had followed after them. Yo, did you see the way she was staring at you too? That was so awesome. I'm so jealous of you guys, said Monster Kid. I don't really think it's something to be jealous of, thought Naruto with a mental frown. What did you do to get her attention? Frisk didn't know exactly how to answer that question. Come on. Let's go watch her beat up some bad guys. Monster Kid ran ahead and tripped but got back to his feet and resumed. Naruto, I'm a little scared, said Frisk. The monsters they've met so far may have tried to hurt them with hardly any negative motives, but this one is different compared, as she's actively seeking them out. I know, just hoping that we don't encounter her along the way, said Naruto. Nikken whined a bit, with the blonde petting his head to ease the worry. The trio continued on their way, but not before accessing the save point ahead of them. A feeling of dread hangs over you, but you stay determined. Save? Yes/no. They confirmed the save and moved on to the next room. there they noted that the path was obstructed by a pool of water which appears to be too deep for them to wade through, and so checked for another way before coming across 4 large flower buds and an ancient glyph in the cave wall for them to read. When 4 bridge seeds align in the water, they will sprout. Does it mean that putting 4 of these buds into the water could make them form a bridge for us to cross? Asked Frisk. It sounds like it would. Let's give it a try, said Naruto. The duo carried the flower buds to the pool and set them up in a row, which made them bloom into large flowers. Naruto stepped on one of the flowers to see that it could bear his weight. It really works, let's get across and move on. Frisk and Nikken followed after Naruto along the flower bridge to the next room and had taken a few steps when a monster being a brown-skinned muscular merehorse with a long winding tail and a 12-pack appears before them. Then their souls emerged to signal a fight. They then used check to learn about the monster. Eren. This seahorse has a lot of HP horsepower. Check all you want, said Eren with a wink. Frisk felt rather uncomfortable about this monster. Naruto decided to act and saw several options before choosing what might help the most. Hey Eren, check these bad boys out. He flexed his muscles, even he doesn't exactly have any to notice. Oh ho, a flexing contest. Okay, flex more. Eren flexed his muscles. Okay, how about this? Naruto changed his pose to flex again. Nice one. I won't lose though. Eren flexed even more strongly. Okay, this will be my ultimate move. Naruto flexed the best he could. I will respond in kind. Eren flexed so hard that he sent himself flying, and the kids were rewarded with 30 gold. Guess that's that. Naruto heard giggling and turned to see Frisk covering her mouth with her hands, but the giggles were leaking out. What's so funny? You looked so silly when you were striking poses with him. Frisk giggled again. Even Nikken was barking as if laughing. Naruto felt embarrassed. Hey, it was the best idea I got to make him leave us. But it's so funny. The blonde looked away with his arms crossed. Whatever. Just hoping that we don't bump into him again. They continued on their way through the room and used another batch of bridge seeds to form another flower bridge across a stream to get to the other side to locate the exit, and were about to go through when Frisk's phone started ringing, and so she answered it. Hello, asked Frisk. Greetings human girl, for it is I, the great Papyrus. Said Papyrus. Papyrus, how did you get this number? Asked Frisk confusedly. It was easy, I sequentially dialed every number until I got yours. Nyeh heh heh heh. That would definitely make for a lot of odd phone calls, thought Naruto with a sweat drop. So what you wearing? Why are you asking? Naruto inquired. Well, I'm asking for another friend. She thought she saw you wearing a pair of tough gloves and you a manly bandana. Is it true? So, she saw us after all. Gotta be a way to mislead her, thought Naruto with a frown before speaking up. Yeah, we're wearing those items. Got it. You're my friend, so I'll trust you a 100%. Have a nice day. Said Papyrus before ending the call. Why did you say that, Naruto? Asked Frisk. If she saw us with the mentioned items, then we can mislead her by wearing something different and be able to hide easier, Naruto explained as he took off the manly bandana. Oh, I get it now. Frisk took off the tough gloves since they were meant to keep her hands warm back at Snowdin and put on the ribbon. You really like wearing it, Naruto noted. Well, you said it looked nice on me. Frisk shyly looked away with a tinge of pink on her yellow cheeks. They went on to find themselves in a room where there were many echo flowers and blue glowing gems on the ceiling to resemble that of stars in the night sky. Things were slightly tricky there as they couldn't find a way out, but Frisk used a nearby telescope to uncover a hidden doorway to the north. The group went through to find themselves on a long wooden dock in water which is pitch black with reed mace growing out of it. There were also many ancient glyphs in the wall which gave them even more information concerning the war between the humans and monsters. They learnt that the humans are basically stronger compared to the monsters, as it would take the souls of nearly every monster to equal the power of just one human soul. However, the only weakness of a human is their own soul, as it could still exist outside of its body, especially after death. It is also said a monster that absorbs a human soul attains unfathomable power. Naruto snapped pictures of the ancient glyphs with his phone's camera to refer to later on. could this be the main reason for the war? I need to find more of these glyphs to learn more. Naruto and the others went to the end of the wooden dock to get on a small raft to drift across the dark water to the next dock. They were walking along the wooden bridge and couldn't help but feel a bit tense due to the shadows around them and the silence save for the water when sudden a blue spear embedded itself a few inches before them, nearly making their hearts leap to their throats. The trio looked to where the spear came from only for their eyes to widen in fear upon seeing Undyne looking at them from behind a row of rock pillars. "It's Undyne," said Frisk in fright. "Come on, we need to get out of here." Naruto grabbed her hand and pulled her along as they began to run for their very lives. The trio ran along the bridge as fast as their legs could carry them as Undyne ran after them behind the rock pillars and was constantly conjuring multiple spears in the air and launching them at the humans who would jump over any that struck the wooden floor ahead of them or duck underneath others aiming for their upper bodies. Naruto gritted his teeth as he ran with his mind racing for any way they could escape when he saw a couple of spears heading their way and saw that they wouldn't be able to dodge in time. Suddenly something came as everything around him slowed down and he quickly unsheathed his Bakken and deflected the spears away from them one-handedly much to his surprise. How was I able to do that? That should have been impossible and required both hands. What's happening to me? Naruto was snapped out of his thoughts by Nikken barking and looked to see that they reaching the end of the bridge, and ahead of them was a tall grass field. "Hurry, let's hide in there." "Oh okay," said Frisk. They ran into the grass field and concealed themselves while keeping as quiet as possible. Even Nikken jumped into Naruto's arms and remained absolutely silent. Their hearts began thumping when the sound of metal clanking drew close to them. It approached closer then they saw her looming above them as she raised a hand over her helmeted head and reached in to grab and pull out Monster Kid. Undyne calmly put the young monster down and left the grass. After ensuring that she was gone, the group emerged at the other side of the tall grass with Monster Kid following after them looking ecstatic. "Did you guys see that? Undyne just touched me, I'm never washing my face ever again." He was beside himself with joy. "Man, you two were so unlucky, if you were standing just a little bit to the left." "Yeah, lucky us," muttered Naruto with sweat dripping down the back of his neck. "Yo, don't worry. I'm sure we'll see her again." Monster Kid ran off and tripped yet again before taking off. "It was so scary, she really wanted to kill us." Frisk shivered. Naruto frowned sadly at she has to go through this in spite of her age. Naruto went to wrap an arm around her shoulder to bring her close to him. "It's okay Frisk-chan, remember that Nikken and I will be here to protect you just like I promised Torielo-Basin." The wolf pup barked in agreement as he stood on his hind legs and placed his front paws on her leg. This succeeded in cheering the girl as she smiled. "Thanks you too, I feel better now." "You're welcome, now let's get moving." The group moved on to the next room where they saw a piece of cheese encased in pink crystal on a table with a mouse hole and echo flower nearby before Naruto accessed the save point there. Knowing that the mouse might one day extract the cheese from the mystical crystal, it fills you with determination. Save? Yes/no. After confirming the save, they moved on to the next area and ran into Sans, who offered to view through the telescope for a hefty cost at first but made it free for them only to find out it was a prank when Frisk looked through and revealed purple paint on her right eye. The group moved on to find themselves in a strange area whereby the water glowed bright blue to light up the area while the ground was pitch black, but the natural light helped them see their surroundings. Nikken had wandered off for a bit but soon returned with something in his mouth which they examined. Ballet shoes. These used shoes make you feel incredibly dangerous. "I'm pretty sure that they go with that old tutu that we found before," said Naruto. "You're right, but I wonder how they got here," said Frisk. "I'm not that curious to find out." Ring ring. Frisk picked up the phone and answered it. "Hello?" "Hello, this is Papyrus." "Is there something the matter?" asked Frisk. "Do you remember when I asked you about clothes?" Frisk nodded in, "Yes, we remember." "Well, the friend who wanted to know, her opinion of you was very murdery." "Well, that's an understatement." Naruto rolled his eyes at that. "But worry not, dear humans, Papyrus would never betray you. I told her you were not wearing tough gloves and a manly bandana even though you told me you were. Instead, I made something up by telling her that you were wearing a ribbon. It pained me to tell such a bold-faced lie. I know you would never wear a ribbon, but your safety is more important than fashion. Dang. I just want to be friends with everyone. Talk to you soon, said Papyrus. Naruto rubbed his head with a groan. That explains how she came after us so soon. Papyrus' lie technically became the truth. Please don't be upset, he was just trying to help, said Frisk. I understand and I can't really be mad at him, I guess it's just one of moments of coincidence. Naruto, Frisk and Nikken continue on their way while taking note of the echo flowers having recorded a conversation between two children concerning a wish, but the conversation wasn't complete. They ran into Eren yet again, who was being accompanied by a new monster called Wushwa. Naruto had to sending Eren flying with another embarrassing flexing contest. Frisk used the info on Wushwa being a germaphobe by asking it to clean them, which it happily did. That some of its attacks were colored green, which actually heals them before taking its leave. Naruto came across a glyph which spoke of the humans attacking the monsters out of fear of the monsters' potential to acquire their souls for power. He found this to be excessively foolish, as this was done out of paranoia before leaving the place. On a narrow pathway in between a large body of water, the trio had an encounter with a large aquatic monster named Onion-san. The monster was quick to show that it was one of the friendlier monsters, as it engaged the humans and Wolf Pup into a conversation and trying to keep a positive outlook on things in spite of the issues by saying that Undyne will fix everything and it will be free to go out of the underground and live in the ocean before bidding them farewell when they reached the end. Naruto and the others made their way to the next area when their souls suddenly emerged from their bodies to signal a fight. Much to their surprise, they quickly looked around until seeing a monster which is fish-like in appearance. Then they realized that the body is actually a separate entity. Shyren. Tone deaf, she's too ashamed to sing her deadly song. Toot, Shyren could be hardly heard by the trio. So how do we go about this? Asked Naruto thoughtfully. Frisk looked through the ACT options in her mind and came up with an idea as she began to hum a tune which Naruto realized to be the nursery rhyme, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Shyren turned to face them and began to follow the melody. Si si me, the female tooted with musical notes flying out of her mouth which they had to avoid being hit by. My turn then. Naruto hummed a different cheerful tune as well, encouraging Shyren to follow the melody with more eagerness. CFA so me re, tooted Shyren, her musical notes flying faster but till avoidable. You're doing great, just a little more. Frisk hummed a more upbeat tune with Shyren immediately getting into rhythm. Me so me see me la si so, the notes got even faster with the group still capable of evading them. That was fun, but it is time for us go on way. Glad to see that you're happier with singing, said Naruto, choosing mercy for the now confident monster. Shyren smiled sadly before giving on final toot, then leaving. The trio were about to leave when they saw a glyph which spoke of a great treasure to the north of where they are, and their curiosity made them go there to a room which contains a piano with a plaque saying that the first 8 notes are fine. Not knowing which tune is required, Naruto and Frisk made their way back to the previous room to continue on their way with another set of ancient glyphs to relay the history of the war. Such power gained from a human's soul cannot be countered, especially since a human cannot take a monster's soul. Should a monster die, their soul would immediately disappear and it would require great power to take a living monster's soul. There is an exception through a certain of species of monsters called boss monsters, as their souls can persist after death but only for a short amount of time in which a human can absorb the soul, but this has never happened and never will. Moving on, they came across an ancient statue sitting along in a room with droplets of water falling from the ceiling, giving one a saddening sense of loneliness from a point of view. After staring at it for a while longer, the group continued on their way to the next area, which has many waterfalls with water constantly dripping from the ceiling akin to rain and reflective pools on the wet floor. Nearby was a bucket of umbrellas and a sign which encouraged them to take one. Naruto picked an umbrella and was about to open it when Frisk called out to him. Wait Naruto, said Frisk. The blonde turned to her. What's the matter? Can I do something before we go on ahead? Sure, what is it? Frisk took an umbrella and headed back the way they came, with Naruto and Nikken following after her till they came upon the statue once more. Frisk opened up the umbrella and placed it on top of the statue to prevent any more water droplets from falling on it. "They're much better, huh?" Frisk smiled in satisfaction before suddenly hearing something from inside the statue. "It sounds like a music box is playing from inside the statue," said Naruto thoughtfully. "It's really nice." Frisk sighed in contentment, with Nikken even sitting next to Naruto with a soft whine. "It really is. Hang on a moment." Naruto listened carefully to the music and noticed something about the music. "I wonder if Frisk-chan, let's head back to the room where the piano is." "Have you figured something?" asked Frisk confusedly. "Sort of. Let's head back to the room where the piano is," said Naruto. They headed back to the piano room where Naruto played the tune from the music box inside of the statue. There was rumble before an entryway emerged at a wall in front of them, which confirmed that they had solved the puzzle. The trio entered a rather simple room where a red sphere is seen on top of a gray pedestal. "Could this be the treasure?" asked Naruto. "I think so. We could show it to Sans when we see him again." "He might know of it," Frisk suggested. "Good idea." Naruto reached for the artifact when a pop-up window appeared before him with a message. "You're carrying too many dogs." "Carrying too many dogs, what's that supposed to mean?" "It's not like I'm carrying dogs in my waist pack." Naruto unzipped the pack only for everyone to be shocked upon seeing a small white dog actually sleeping inside. "What the how did it get in here without my knowing? What's more, didn't we see this dog somewhere before?" "I recognize it. It stole Papyrus's special attack and took all of the bones from his house too," said Frisk. "Well, it's getting out of my pack and staying out." Naruto reached in to bring out the dog and place it on the ground, and now for the treasure. Suddenly, the dog woke up and leapt at the pedestal before absorbing the artifact into itself. It stared at the stunned expression on their faces before jumping off the pedestal and running out of the room. "I finally get why Papyrus finds dogs so irritating, especially that one." Naruto rubbed his face, trying to keep himself calm. Even Nikken was growling at what the dog just did after everything they did. "Maybe we should continue on our way," Frisk suggested. "Sure, no point standing around here anymore." They doubled back to the waterlogged room and picked out an umbrella large enough to shield them from the rain. Naruto had Frisk carry Nikken in her arms so as to prevent the wolf pup from getting wet, with said pup being more than eager to comply. The group didn't go too far when they came across a familiar face yet again. "Hey guys!" Monster Kid called out to them cheerfully. "You were waiting for us?" asked Naruto. "Yup, we're going to meet Undyne after all." "You also got a big umbrella for all three of us," Nikken barked in protest, making the young monster chuckle sheepishly. "Sorry, I mean four, aha." "If you really want, then okay," Frisk conceded, though Naruto wasn't too sure about it. "Awesome." Monster Kid happily joined them underneath the umbrella. "Let's go." They walked soundlessly through the room before MK decided to speak up. "Man, Undyne is so cool. She beats up bad guys and never loses. Bet I would be peeing in my bed at night knowing that she'd beat me up if I were a human." "Yeah, funny you should say that," said Naruto, "given that he and Frisk are humans and Undyne is after them right now." Monster Kid continued, "One time, we had a school project where we had to take care of a flower. The king, though we had to call him Mr. Dreamer, volunteered to donate his own flowers. He ended up coming to school and teaching us about responsibility and stuff. So that got me thinking how awesome it would be if Undyne came to school too. It would be cool to see her beat up all the teachers." "I'm not sure that's a good thing if you say she's a good person," said Frisk with concern. Monster Kid looked sheepish again. "Yeah, you're right, Undyne's too cool to ever hurt an innocent person. Kinda ironic that we're innocent with the only thing invalidating that is us being humans," thought Naruto with a small frown. They went through a doorway to find themselves in a wide-open area which wasn't dripping with water, and they could also see a castle in the far distance, letting Naruto and Frisk know just how far they have left before arriving at their final destination. After Naruto took a picture with his phone, the group went through the doorway ahead into the next room, which was raining as well, but the path was obstructed by a steep ledge before them. This ledge is a bit high for any of us to jump up to on our own, said Naruto thoughtfully after putting the umbrella into a bucket nearby. Then how about you guys climb up on my shoulders? That should do the trick, Monster Kid suggested. Good idea, I'll go first so I can pull you all up. Monster Kid nodded in affirmation before crouching slightly for Naruto hoist himself on his shoulders and grab the ledge to pull himself to the top. Frisk was the next to follow as she passed Nikken to him first before grabbing his hand to be pulled up to the ledge. What about you, MK? Asked Naruto, considering that their friend has no arms for him to grab and pull up. I'll find another way and catch up with you guys, so you go on ahead, said Monster Kid before running off, and like the last 2 times, tripped and fell before getting back up and running again. He really needs to take his time or he'll keep hurting himself, said Frisk in concern. Same here, makes me curious how he lives his daily life without arms, said Naruto in wonder. Naruto, Frisk and Nikken followed the path before to the next area where it no longer rains, and found the next save point to be accessed. The serene sound of a distant music box, it fills you with determination. Save. Yes/no. After confirming the save, Naruto went on to examine/record the next set of the ancient glyphs. Out of fear, humanity had declared war on the monsters and attacked them without warning or mercy. The war was one-sided as the humans were too powerful, not a single human soul was taken and countless monsters were turned to dust. So many lives lost, all because of stupid paranoia, not even bothering themselves to even talk to the monsters about it. Humanity can be so flawed at times like this, said Naruto. It's so sad, some of the monsters here are so nice. They didn't deserve to be treated and imprisoned like this, said Frisk sadly. I know, no doubt the human's perspective about the legend is nothing more than prejudice. Let's keep moving. Naruto and the others found themselves walking along yet another long wooden whilst surrounded by darkness and silence save for the creaking of the wood from their footsteps. The children and Wolf Pup couldn't help but feel a familiar sense of dread. That was when they noticed blue glowing spots appearing on the wooden floor around them, then suddenly familiar spears shot out of them. Naruto looked over the bridge to see another bridge below, and Undyne was leering straight at him. Undyne's back. Naruto called out in alert. Oh no, not again. Frisk gasped in worry. The trio took off along the bridge with Undyne pursuing them from below while summoning energy spears to pierce through the wooden bridge to attack the children who were running as fast as they could. The best and only moment for Naruto and Frisk to know where exactly the energy spears are about to strike is when they could see a blue glowing spot on the ground, which shows where a spear would be coming from. This wasn't the only problem the children had to face due to the bridge having numerous branching pathways. Darn it, another dead end. Naruto growled in annoyance due to the winding pathways leading to dead ends, forcing them to double back each time, with the incoming attacks from Undyne not making things any easier for them in their bid to escape from her. Naruto, over there. Frisk pointed at a long path to their right. Hope it leads somewhere away from here. Naruto and Frisk ran along the pathway, but, you gotta be kidding me, another dead end. Frisk bowed her head in guilt for misleading them. I'm sorry, Naruto. It's not your fault, you were just trying to help. Now let's double back and find another way out here before. Naruto trailed off at the familiar yet foreboding sound of metal clanking as they turned around to see Undyne approach them with her right eye glowing ominously through the visor of her helmet. She raised a hand to summon a trio of energy spears before launching them to slice through the wooden bridge, causing their side to crumble beneath their feet and plummet to the dark abyss below. Frisk. Nikken. Naruto reached out to grab the terrified two and pulled them into his embrace with every intention to protect them from the eventual impact from the fall, unaware of a sudden flash of light within the darkness for a moment before dissipating. The crumbling of gravel underneath footsteps could be heard echoing throughout a cave as a young male voice akin to that of a child muttered to himself. It sounds like it came from here. The child suddenly let out a gasp. Oh. You have fallen down, haven't you? Are you okay? Here, let me help you. Huh. That's a nice name. My name is Dash. Ugh, Naruto let out a pained groan as he opened his eyes and slowly sat up. We're alive. Not that I'm not relieved, but how? He looked down and saw that they were lying on top of a bed of golden flowers, similar to the ones backs at the ruins where they first fell into. These flowers saved us again, best to make sure that Frisk-chan and Nikken are alright. At moment, Frisk woke up with a mmm and the wolf pup woke up as well as it stood up on its feet and shook itself before yipping happily upon seeing Naruto, then scampering over to him. "Naruto?" asked Frisk, rubbing her eyes while not yet fully awake. "Good to see you're okay, Frisk-chan. Are you hurt anywhere?" asked Naruto with concern. "Just a little sore, but I'm fine." Where are we?" The group looked around to get an idea of where they might be after falling from the bridge when they were cornered by Undyne. They saw that they were a base of a large waterfall with multiple driftwood floating on shallow water, and piles of garbage could be seen further ahead of them. "Looks like a garbage dump at the bottom of a waterfall. We must have fallen further down in the underground," said Naruto thoughtfully. "I think we should try finding our way up since we fell down here," said Frisk. "Yeah, no doubt that the barrier is closest to the top of Emptiabat. Let's get going." The trio began making their way out of the garbage dump while moving through the shallow waters, with Naruto having to carry Nikken in his hoodie and getting around the numerous piles of trash along the way before coming upon a save point for Naruto to access. The waterfall here seems to be flowing from the ceiling of the cavern. Occasionally a piece of trash would flow through and fall into the bottomless abyss below. Viewing this endless cycl of worthless garbage fills you with determination. Save? Yes/no. Quirking an eyebrow at the text, Naruto confirmed the save and felt himself along with Frisk and Nikken being healed before continuing on their way. The group came across so many discarded items along the way, like a rusted bicycle, beat-up desktop computer, a DVD case for anime though it has claw marks on it, and a cooler containing astronaut food, but Naruto wasn't too sure of taking any with them. "Naruto, look over there." Frisk pointed for the blonde to see a dummy which they approached. "It looks like the one back at the ruins." "You're right, I wonder how this one ended up here," said Naruto thoughtfully. "Anyways, the exit is just ahead, so let's get a move on." "Okay." The trio were just about reaching the exit when they heard a loud splash behind them, then something burst out of the water in front of them, revealing to be the very same dummy, but its appearance is different from before. It sports a set of upper teeth on the torso, a pair of eyes on the head, nostrils on the nose. "Ha ha ha, too intimidated to fight me, huh?" said the dummy. "I am a ghost that lives inside a dummy. My cousin used to live inside one too until you two came along." What did we do?" asked Frisk, a bit frightened at the monster's sudden anger. "When you talked to them, they thought they were in for a nice chat. But the things you said, horrible, shocking, unbelievable. It spooked them right out of their dummy." Naruto frowned at the accusation as he thought back. "That's not what happened, we didn't say anything bad." "Humans. I'll scare you souls out of your body," said Dummy angrily, causing the duo's souls to emerge from within to signal a fight. Naruto immediately used ACT to check for information on the monster and soon got it. Mad Dummy. Because they are a ghost, physical attacks will fail. Don't waste your time attacking me as I am still incorporeal. Doing so would be foolish, foolish. Foolish. Dummy proclaimed. "I don't think he would be willing to listen to us," said Frisk with concern. "I could tell as much, we just need a way to get it to stop," said Naruto with a small frown. Mad Dummy suddenly yelled out, "Dummies attack the humans." Something rose from beneath the surface of the water in front of the trio and revealed to be a cluster of miniature dummies which fired a barrage of magic attacks in the form of scribbles. Naruto and Frisk moved out of the way to avoid getting hit by them, with more dummies appearing with these ones flashing red before swooping to tackle them. Frisk ducked her head to dodge the first cluster and Naruto dashed sideways when the second cluster aimed at him while his mind raced for a solution to this current problem. Mad Dummy cackled with glee. "Futile. Futile. Futile. I will defeat you and take your souls, then break through the barrier. I will stand in the window of fancy store, and everything I want will be mine." Naruto took a moment to stand and look at the Mad Dummy with a quirked eyebrow. "Can't help but feel like the goal isn't as grandiose as you make it to be." Nikken began barking in alert from his hoodie. getting him to look behind and see some of the mini dummies fire a barrage of their magic attacks. The blonde quickly ducked underneath the magic attacks, which ended up hitting Mad Dummy and got an interesting reaction. Ow, you dummies. Watch where you're aiming your magic attacks. Mad Dummy yelled angrily before pausing to realize what he just said and looked nervous. Hey. You. Forget I said anything about magic. Naruto smiled slyly, doubt it will slip out of our minds anytime soon. He winked at Frisk, who smiled and nodded in understanding. Now having a new strategy, the duo began moving in various positions to wait for the mini dummies to fire their magic attacks towards them before getting out of the way at the last moment for the scribble-like projectiles to hit the Mad Dummy as the true target, making said monster madder with every hit and being quite vocal about it every time. But they had to watch out for the flashing red mini dummies, which often attempt to tackle them from various directions. Finally Mad Dummy called out, "Hey guys," the mini dummies appeared before him. Dummies. 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 Remember how I said not to shoot at me? Well, failures. You're fired. You're all being replaced. The mini dummies floated away in depression. That wasn't nice, they were trying their best, said Frisk with a small frown. Whatever. 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 Now you will see my true power, by relying on people that aren't garbage. Dummy bots, magic missiles. There was the sound of mechanical whirring through the area, then dummies appeared, albeit as robots, and fired a volley of rockets. Naruto and Frisk darted out of the way only to be shocked when the rockets actually turned around and pursued them yet again. Those are homing missiles, said Naruto in urgency as he jumped to the side when some of them got too close and kept his eyes on them only to see the red circle on them vanishes. Then they began going in a straight line before crashing into the cavern walls and exploding. Could it be Frisk-chan? The missiles can only home on you for some time before it stops following you. Frisk nodded in affirmation. I got it. Mad Dummy frowned at this. Dummy bots. Try again. The dummy bots fired another salvo of homing rockets. The duo took to evading the explosive projectiles till they lost their lock and struck elsewhere. Dummy bots. You're awful. The next volley of rockets were launched, but Naruto had figured them out enough to maneuver them to hitting the Mad Dummy bots. Final attack. This time, the flashing red dummies attacked along with the dummy bots, which had Naruto and Frisk to be very careful when dodging them and avoid being seriously damaged until the assault finally ended. And no way, these guys are even worse than the other guys. Mad Dummy couldn't believe that these humans were able to avoid all of his attacks. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? I don't need friends. Suddenly a knife appeared overhead, making them tense. I got knives. He threw the knife, which was easily evaded, and waited for the next one, but Mad Dummy simply hovered there. I'm out of knives, said Mad Dummy sheepishly. Naruto and Frisk simply blinked in response. Oh. But it doesn't matter. I can't hurt you and you can't hurt me. You will be stuck fighting me forever. 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 Mad Dummy cackled wildly at the notion when white droplets began falling on him from above with negative effects. What is this? Could it be acid rain? Oh, forget it, I'm outta here. He flew away as fast as he could. That was when a familiar figure appeared before the trio, whom they immediately recognized. Napstablook, said Frisk with surprise and relief. Sorry, I interrupted you, didn't I? As soon as I came, your friend immediately, I just wanted to say hi. I'm really sorry, said the ghost apologetically. It's okay, we're not mad at you. We're even glad to see you, said Naruto. Napstablook smiled a bit. Well, I'm heading home now. You can come with if you want, though you don't have to. I can understand if you're busy and all. We really don't mind coming along. Plus we could use a bit of rest, and I need to recharge my phone since the battery is almost dead, said Naruto, feeling the phone vibrate a couple of times to alert him of low battery. Oh okay, please follow me if you want to. The group followed the ghost out of the garbage dump, with Nikken jumping off the hood. Now that there isn't any water, they were at a junction which had several pathways leading to different directions, and there was a save point for Naruto to access. You feel a calming tranquility. You're filled with determination. Save. Yes/no. Napstablook led them through the middle path towards two tall houses with the left one being the ghosts which they entered. I hope you don't mind the mess, I wasn't really expecting any visitors if they wanted to visit at all. I have a charger for your phone if you want it, that is, said Napstablook. Thanks a lot. Naruto plugged in the charger and saw the phone beginning to recharge its battery. Frisk was looking over a couple of CDs nearby and was reading the labels, Spookwave, Gulade Music, Spooktunes. Oh, those are my favorite songs, although nobody knows since they don't ask me, said Napstablook. Really, I also have a thing for music since I listen to certain tunes while doing things like reading, exercising, relaxing or evening singing along with my D-dash. Naruto stopped in mid-sentence before looking away with a sad look in his eyes which Frisk was quick to notice, and other things. Me too, after a great meal I like to lie on the ground and feel like garbage, it's a family tradition, said Napstablook. Oh, it makes sense now, given how we first met, said Frisk thoughtfully. How about we lie on the floor and feel like garbage together if you want to, that is. Naruto shrugged in response, sure, we don't mind, plus my phone is still charging. Oh okay. Napstablook went over to the computer and floated a couple of wireless headphones to Naruto and Frisk. I have some music which would help us feel like garbage. The duo took the headphones and put them on before everyone laid down on the floor and stared up at the ceiling with Nikken curling up to Naruto's head. As the music began to play, it suddenly felt as if they weren't in the room anymore but rather floating in space with no sense of gravity, confinement, and limitations. Naruto couldn't help but let out a sigh of relaxation. He had been feeling a lot of tension ever since he and Frisk had left Snowdin and were constantly pursued by Undyne along with the monsters trying to get their souls from time to time. So it feels pretty good to let the tension ebb out of his body as if he was relaxing in a hot spring. This feels nice, said Frisk in contentment. I'm glad you like it, I thought you didn't, said Napstablook. It's cool, sometimes one just needs to know when to kick back and relax while letting the world go by, said Naruto. They continued to lie down and relax until the song eventually came to an end, causing everything to go back to normal along with Naruto's phone beeping to signal that it has been fully recharged, getting them to rise from the floor. Guess it's time for us to get a move on, said Naruto, placing his phone back into his waist pack and making sure he has everything. I hope you can visit again if you want to, said Napstablook. Frisk smiled in response, sure we would. See you later. Naruto bade the polite ghost farewell as they left the house. The trio headed back to the junction and took note of the signboard which they read. North, Bluke Acres, East, Hotland, Temmie Village. Naruto hummed in thought, Hotland, that must be where we're heading to next to get closer to the barrier. Hotland sounds hot. Frisk blushed a bit seeing Naruto smile at her in amusement. If it's anything like Snowdin with the literal naming, then we might end up being near magma, so it's best to be cautious when there. Receiving a nod of affirmation from the girl and Nikken barking excitedly, the group headed eastwards towards and happened across a shop at a crossroads with a southern path and a dimension box nearby. Deciding that they would need to resupply, Naruto went inside the shop and met with the shopkeeper, who appears to be an elderly-looking olive-green tortoise monster with a pointed beard. His teeth are crooked and yellow and his shell is a dark brown color with a pale cream rim, and seems to be unable to open his right eye. He wears archaeologist attire, and a tan pith helmet while holding a large magnifying glass. The shopkeeper noticed them and greeted happily, "Whoa there, looks like I got a couple of young customers today." "Hello there, my name is Jerson and it will be a pleasure to do business with you." "Nice to meet you, Jerson-san, what do you have to sell?" asked Naruto. "I got some neat stuff on sale, no need to be shy." Naruto looked at the items currently on display on the table. Crab apple, 25 GCT, 15G cloudy glasses, 30G torn notebook, 50G. The blonde was contemplating on what to buy when Frisk noticed something and called out to him, "Naruto, look, it's that symbol we saw before." Naruto looked towards where she was pointing and saw the emblem which he had taken a picture with his phone. "You're right. Oh ho, it appears that you're familiar with the Delta Rune emblem," said Jerson. "Not really, we've been trying to learn more about it," said Naruto. You don't know what that is? What are they teaching you kids in school nowadays? The Delta rune is the emblem of our kingdom, the kingdom of monsters. To be honest, the original meaning has been lost to time. All we know is that the triangles symbolize us monsters below, and the winged circle above symbolizes something else. Most people say it's the angel from the prophecy. A prophecy? Asked Frisk curiously. Jerson hummed thoughtfully, oh yeah. The prophecy. Legend has it that an angel who has seen the surface will descend from above and bring us freedom. But lately, the people have been taking a bleaker outlook. Callan, that circle, the angel of death, a harbinger of destruction, waitin' to free us from this mortal realm. Frisk looked concerned while Naruto frowned a bit. That sounds pretty scary. In my opinion, when I see that little circle, I just think it looks neat. Jerson laughed out loud, getting the others to smile as well. Say, can you tell us about the king? Asked Naruto, wanting to learn more about him. King Fluffy Buns. He's a friendly, happy-go-lucky kind of guy. If you keep walking around long enough, you'll probably meet him, as he loves to walk around and talk to people. Why do you call the king that? Asked Frisk. Why do I call Dreamer Fluffy Buns? Oh, that's a great story, although I don't remember it. But if you come back much later, I'm sure I'll have remembered by then. Naruto nodded in understanding. We'll be sure to do so. Another question though, can you tell us about Undyne? Jerson stroked his beard at the question. Undyne. Yeah, she's a local hero around here. Through grit and determination alone, she fought her way to the top of the Royal Guard. Actually, she just came through here asking about someone who looked just like you. Naruto and Frisk looked at each other in worry. I'd watch your back, kids. And buy some items, as it might just save your hide. Naruto chuckled weakly. He, I would do just that. I'll take the cloudy glasses, the torn notebook, and 3 of the CT. He didn't know why, but something enticed him to purchase the first 2 items, since they're likely to have belonged to the humans before them. Good choices. That will be 125 G. Jerson handed over the items in exchange for the gold. If you want to sell stuff, I heard the Temmie village is the best place, since they'll buy just about anything. Thanks for everything, hope to see you again, said Naruto with a polite bow. Be sure to come again, you youngsters make good company and customers. Jerson bade the 2 children and Wolf Pup as they left. Upon exiting the shop, the trio continued on the eastern path, through a cavernous hallway with 2 large bodies of water, so Naruto had to carry Nikken across them. There were also some glyphs which spoke of how a massive power equivalent to that of 7 human souls would be capable of destroying the barrier which imprisons the monsters underground. They continued onwards into a very dark room, with the only source of light being the glowing grassy paths. The trio also learnt that touching the glowing mushrooms would make more of the pathways reveal themselves to walk along. Naruto and Ko had also ran into new monsters along the way, being Moldsmal, Moldybug, and a cur one called Temmie, which seems to love to pet humans but freaked out and ran off when Aaron the merehorse showed, as it doesn't like muscles for some reason. Nikken's nose suddenly twitched as he picked up a strange scent and barked for the others to follow. I wonder where he's going, asked Frisk curiously. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Might as well follow him and find out. The trio soon found themselves in a village where they saw a large number of Temmies which all look alike, with a signboard even reading, Hoi! Welcome to Tem Village. This must be the place that Jerson was telling us about, said Naruto thoughtfully. There's so many of them and they all look the same, it's pretty hard to tell them apart. Frisk looked at the monsters as she spoke. Since we're here, let's check out the place before moving on. The group went on to meet the residents and soon came to learn that they're pretty cur, as they kept introducing themselves as Temmie, save for one called Bob, which drew confused looks from Naruto and Frisk. There was a Temmie who was watching over an egg until it hatches, but the egg is hard-boiled. Entering the shop, which had signs outside to tell them to go in, they met with yet another Temmie, albeit this one is different compared to the rest. This Temmie has light gray hair in a different hairstyle and wears a sky blue and yellow striped shirt. Hoi! Welcome to the Tem shop, said the Temmie shopkeeper excitedly from behind an upside-down cardboard box acting as a counter. Hello, I heard this is a good place to sell items, said Naruto. Yup. Temmie buy items for good price. Well, I got some things that I would like to sell, they've been taking up space in our dimension box. Give me a minute. Naruto exited the shop, then a few minutes later returned with a large heap of items in his arms. It used to be dog residue until it changed into dog salad. It seemed to have been duplicating itself inside the box. Hope you're interested in these. The Temmie shopkeeper nodded eagerly. Temmie will be very happy to buy dog salad. I gotta pay for collard, but Temmie always want a dog salad. Okies, Temmie will pay 8G each. After a lengthy moment of transaction, Naruto had acquired a large amount of money which would definitely be of use for the road ahead. Thanks for everything. Boi. Come back with new stuff, said the Temmie shopkeeper happily. After departing from the Temmie village and into the dark maze, Naruto and the other ventured through the maze and found themselves in another maze, but this time they had to interact with darkening lanterns to light up the way, but had to be quick as the lanterns would stay lit for a short duration before dimming. The trio soon exited from the maze, but the route kept getting darker as they progressed that Naruto had to use the flashlight of his phone so they could see where they were before coming upon an echo flower and touching it to make the place light up. Frisk sighed in relief. Thank goodness, I really don't like it when it's dark. Same here, now we can know which way we're going. Naruto switched off the flashlight and pocketed the phone. However, a chill crawled down their spines when a voice called out to them. Behind you. They slowly turned around to see none other than Undyne standing before them with their back literally to the wall with no escape route. Naruto positioned himself in front of them as Undyne slowly approached them with his hand ready to draw out his Bakken. 7 human souls. With these 7, our king, Askari Dreamer, will become a god. He will shatter the barrier and take back the surface from humanity while giving back the pain and suffering we have endured, said Undyne with underlying anger in her voice. Do you understand, humans? This is your chance at redemption. Give up or I'll tear it from your body. Naruto unsheathed his Bakken and stood at the ready with Nikken standing next to him with a growl. Sorry, but I can't do that. Undyne conjured a blue spear and held it in her hands. Then so be it. She rapidly approached to attack when something burst out from the bushes nearby and landed in the middle of the path, halting her for everyone to see what it is. Undyne, I'll help you fight. MK, said Naruto and Frisk in shock while Nikken tilted his head in confusion. Said monster turned towards them with a smile. Hey guys, you finally met Undyne and even have the front row seats to see her fight. Wait, Monster Kid looked back and forth between Undyne and Naruto and Frisk several times before noticing something wrong. Who's she fighting? Having enough of this, Undyne sent away her spear before grabbing Monster Kid and dragging him away, with the latter being even more confused. Hey. You're not gonna tell my parents about this, are you? After seeing that they were gone, Naruto and Frisk exhaled with the tension leaving their bodies. That moment really made their hearts PND against their chests. Naruto sheathed the Bakken with a small frown. I don't know whether to be glad that MK showed up or concerned that he's unknowingly putting himself in danger because of us. Maybe we should have told him that we are humans earlier, but I didn't want him to be scared of us either, said Frisk. I'm thinking the same thing. Best we get a move on before Undyne comes back. Okay. The group saw no other way near them and so backtracked a bit to see a new pathway thanks to the area being bright enough to reveal it. They went up through a long room where there were many more echo flowers which seemed to continue the conversation of the two children from before. There was also a glyph which spoke of the prophecy about how an angel which had seen the surface and would return with the underground becoming empty, just like what Jerson had told them about. They enters a room that contains a long wooden bridge spanning across an expansive chasm with a dark abyss. The trio carefully went across it and were almost at the other side when they heard someone call out to them from behind. Yo, they turned to see Monster Kid approaching them, but he appeared rather nervous as if unsure about something. I know I'm not supposed to be here, but I want to ask you something. I never had to ask anyone this. You two are humans, right? Naruto looked to the ground for a moment before responding, yeah, Frisk-chan and I are humans. Man, I knew it. I mean I know it now. Undyne told me to stay away from those humans. So, guess this makes us enemies or something. Frisk flinched at his words, but I kinda stink at that, huh? Yo, can you say something mean so I can hate you? No, I won't, MK, there's no reason whatsoever for us to do that, said Naruto with Frisk nodding in agreement. We don't hate you, said Frisk. MK looked uncomfortable at that, so I have to be the one to do it. Here goes then, I hate your guts. He turned away when he saw Frisk was about to cry, man, I'm such a turd. I'm gonna head home now. He turned round and ran before anything could be said when he suddenly tripped and fell off the bridge only to hang onto the ledge below with his chin. MK. Frisk called out of fear for the young monster. Help. Monster Kid cried out. Hang on, we're coming, said Naruto. They were about to move in when Undyne appeared before them with a spear in hand. However, Naruto chose to help Monster Kid as he ran over to grab him by the collar of his shirt and pull him up with Frisk helping. You okay, buddy? Why yeah, thanks a million, said Monster Kid gratefully before seeing Undyne approach, causing him to get up and stand in front of Naruto and Frisk. Why yo dude, if you wanna hurt my friends you're gonna have to get through me first. Undyne took several steps back at that, then dispelled her spear and walked away from the bridge and out of sight. She's gone, Monster Kid muttered before turning to the trio. You guys really saved my skin there. We just couldn't leave you like that, MK, said Naruto. Guess being enemies was just a nice thought, We'll just be friends instead. Frisk smiled happily in response. We would like that very much. Monster Kid nodded in agreement before realizing something. Man, I should really be getting home since my parents will be worried sick about me by now. Be safe, MK, and make sure to watch your step, said Naruto. Sure thing, later dudes. Monster Kid ran off as he said goodbye. I'm so glad that he doesn't hate us for being humans, said Frisk, feeling relieved. Me too, but we still need to watch out for Undyne. I seriously doubt she would be giving up on us anytime soon, said Naruto with a frown. I know, I'm a bit scared though. Naruto placed a hand on Frisk's shoulder, getting her to look at him. I understand, but remember that I promised Torilo Basin that I would protect you. Everything will be okay, I promise. Frisk smiled a bit. Okay Naruto, thank you. The group resumed their trek after crossing the bridge and continuing along the route until finding themselves in a wide-open craggy area where they could see two tall metallic towers with the atmosphere being rather warm. Naruto saw a save point and went to access it. The wind is howling, you are filled with determination. Save. Yes/no. There was a tall crag with an opening ahead of them when Naruto took note of something at the top of the crag and peered to see that it was Undyne yet again. The armored knight looked down at them silently before speaking up. 7 human souls, and King Askari will become a god. 6. That's how many we have collected thus far. Understand? Through your 7th and final soul, this world will be transformed, although having an 8th soul would guarantee our victory against humanity. First, however, as is customary for those who make it this far, I shall tell you the tragic tale of our people. It all started, long ago. Frisk leaned to whisper into Naruto's ear. Could she be talking about the war between the monsters and the humans which we read from the glyphs along the way? I guess so, maybe we'll learn more from her, Naruto whispered back. No, you know what? Undyne suddenly began yelling, screw it. Why should I tell that story when you're about to die? She took off her helmet to reveal that she's a fish-like monster with blue scales and a long red ponytail. She has red and blue fins on the sides of her head, and a pair of sharp yellow protruding teeth. She also wears a red eyeshadow and has an eye patch on her left eye. Oh, she's actually a fish monster, thought Naruto, having wondered how she looks like underneath the armor. You're standing in the way of everybody's hopes and dreams. Alphys history books made me think humans were cool, with their giant robots and flowery swordswomen, said Undyne before muttering to herself at the last part. Giant robots and flowery swordsmen in human history? I haven't heard anything like that, said Frisk confusedly. Me too, I get the feeling that she's misunderstanding something, said Naruto. Undyne glared at them. But you. You're just cowards, hiding behind that kid so you could run away from me again. And let's not forget your wimpy goody two-shoe shtick. Oh. I'm making such a difference by hugging random strangers. Frisk shook her head at that. That's not true, MK is our friend and we wouldn't treat him that way. Naruto was quick to protest, we have no reason to harm any of the monsters as they're not our enemies, Frisk-chan and I are learning more and more about the monsters. We're trying to discover the truth. Undyne scoffed at that, you want the truth? The truth is that continued existence is a crime. Your life is all that stands between us and our freedom. Right now, I can feel everyone's hearts pounding together. Everyone's been waiting their whole lives for this moment. But we're not nervous at all. When everyone puts their hearts together, they can't lose. Now, human. Let's end this, right here, right now. I'll show you how determined monsters can be. Step forward when you're ready. Fuhuhu. What do we do? Asked Frisk. Guess we don't have much of a choice but to defend ourselves. But the moment she lets down her guard, we run and try to lose her, said Naruto with Frisk nodding in understanding while Nikken ruffled his fur and was just as ready. Naruto stepped forward while unsheathing his Bakken and took a stance with their souls emerging from their bodies. Undyne smirked with glee, that's it, then. No more running away. Here I come, she leapt off the crag towards them which conjuring a spear into her hands. Naruto and Frisk jumped back to avoid where she was going to land but were taken by surprise when she lunged quickly and struck their souls, changing them from red to green. The children were quick to realize that they can't move at certain points as if restricted within a small boundary. Why can't we move? Asked Frisk confusedly. Undyne smirked in response, as long as you're green you can't escape. Unless you learn to face danger head-on. You won't last a second against me. However, I want this to be a fair fight so take this to defend yourself. She tossed a spear for Frisk to catch in her hands, and now en garde. The duo started by selecting ACT and using check to get some info on Undyne. Undyne. The heroine that never gives up. Naruto saw several spears heading his way and tensed, seeing as how he won't be able to dodge like always and has to defend himself differently this time. Then a male voice echoed at the back of his mind. Listen Naruto, this form I am about to teach you has been looked down upon and seen as a coward's way of fighting since it lacks offensive effectiveness. What they fail to realize is that swiftness, strong focus and most importantly patience is a guarantee for one's survival on the battlefield as such is the Gale form. I know you have your mother's temper but you also have her protectiveness just don't let her know I said that, heh. Dad, Naruto let out a deep breath and held the Bakken before him with both hands as he calmed down with his heartbeat slowing down slightly. He focused upon the first spear coming at him from the front and deflected it to the side and followed up on the next two spears heading his way before resetting to his stance. Frisk would have been amazed if she wasn't currently preoccupied with having to defend against the incoming spears as well. One came from the front which she blocked with the spear in hand for it to dissipate upon contact, then two more spears came in from the right which she quickly turned to face and deflect. Not bad, let's see you handle this then, said Undyne. Naruto once more tightened his focus and timed his motion to deflect two spears approaching from the front, then swiveled to the left to defend against two more spears before turning to the right to take care of the remaining pair of spears. Frisk sensed a triad of spears coming from behind and blocked them but was almost blindsided by a spear from the left had it not been for Nikken jumping to snatch it from the air with his teeth before tossing it away. For years, we've dreamed of a happy ending. Undyne holds her fist in front of her and shakes her head, and now, sunlight is just within our reach. I won't let you snatch it away from us. We can understand that the monsters are going through hard times ever since they were sealed into the underground, but we also deserve to live, said Naruto. Please, we don't want to be enemies with you, Frisk pleaded. Undyne refuted, there's too much at stake for me to simply let you go. Naruto once more deflected spears coming from the left, spun to parry the next ones from behind before facing his front in time to block a spear which was moving more quickly compared to the previous ones. Same here, we have a place to return to. Suddenly, their souls pulsed a few times before changing from green back to red, with Naruto and Frisk being able to move around like normal, much to Undyne's surprise. Seeing the moment of distraction, Naruto called out to Frisk and Nikken. "Let's run." Frisk nodded in affirmation, "Alright." The trio quickly moved past Undyne and into the opening underneath the crag which the female knight was standing on top of, running along a stone bridge over a river below when they heard the rapid clanging, letting them know that Undyne is in pursuit and catching up. Suddenly, 2 yellow spears whizzed past and actually curved to strike their souls and turning the green again to limit their mobility yet again. The trio turned to see Undyne glaring at them. "You won't get away from me this time." Undyne sent another barrage of spears towards them, Naruto once more to the defensive and deflected the spears from different directions. He was just about to parry a yellow spear when it suddenly curved at the last minute and went around to strike him from behind, with the blonde letting out a sharp gasp of pain. "Naruto!" Frisk called out to him in worry, with Nikken scampering over to look him over with a soft whine. Naruto gritted his teeth at the pain throbbing from his side. "Don't worry about me, Frisk-chan, watch out for those yellow spears." "But I can still keep going, I'll be fine with a little pick-me-up." Naruto reached into his waist pack to take out a tea which he drank and felt the pain fade away quite a bit before retaking his stance. "No human has ever made it past Askari. Honestly, killing you now is an act of mercy," said Undyne while glaring at the duo still defending against her spears. "So stop being so DMN resilient." "Well, we know what we want very clearly, and that is not to die no matter what," said Naruto, unaware that his left eye has been flickering with white light. Undyne gritted her teeth. "NGH. Enough warming up." Undyne proceeded to launch multiple spears from the left and right side of Naruto with increasing speed and rate of fire as the blonde swung his Bakken rapidly whilst switching to engage the closest to him to avoid getting damaged, with the same going for Frisk as Nikken tried to help them the best it could by catching the spears one at a time. As he went up against the onslaught of spears, Naruto began to feel something bubbling up from within, like it was pleading to be unleashed. At that moment, Undyne launched several yellow spears which curved around to attack Naruto from different directions. Suddenly, Naruto moved swiftly to knock away the spears with no waste in movement one-handedly. Naruto looked at the hand holding the Bakken in shock. "I've done it again, that feeling in me just now, could it be the cause?" Undyne stared at the blonde intently. "You're somewhat interesting, human boy, this is the second time you've done that. Though I'm curious about your eye too." "My eye?" asked Naruto confusedly. "She's right, Naruto, your left eye is glowing," Frisk pointed out. Sure enough, Naruto's left eye was glowing with a white flaming aura. "Let's see you handle this." Undyne raised a hand above her head to conjure a large number of spears before launching them. Naruto tightened the grab on his Bakken and focused intently, with that feeling pulsing within him once more. He moved much more fluidly and utilizing half-spins in his motions, which is a higher level in the Gale form. Naruto's soul let out a pulse as it changed back into red, with the pulse affecting Frisk's and reverting it to red as well. "Let's run again." Naruto grabbed Frisk's hand and ran past Undyne to escape from her once more. They ran across the bridge into the next room, which has a large neon sign saying, "Welcome to Hotland," with the multicolored letters scrolling across the sign. Frisk's phone began ringing in her pocket and she answered it before Naruto could say anything. "Hello?" asked Frisk. "Greetings, human friends, it is I, the great Papyrus," said Papyrus happily over the phone. "We're kinda busy at the moment," said Naruto urgently. "Then I shan't keep you waiting for much longer. I was just thinking that the both you, Undyne and I should all hang out sometime. I think you would make great pals. Let's meet up at her house later." "Oh, okay, but we'll have to call you back," said Frisk before ending the call. "Stop running away," Undyne yelled in frustration while striking their souls yet again to change them to green. "So long as you want to kill us, we'll keep running," Naruto responded. "Please stop, we don't to fight you," Frisk pleaded. "Alphys told me humans were determined. I see now what she meant by that. But I'm determined too. Determined to end this right now." Undyne attacked with a large number of yellow spears, this time to attack from different angles, and Naruto was ever ready to defend against them, with his left eye glowing even more intently in reaction to his current emotional state. He rapidly parried the incoming projectiles and actually managed to knock one back at Undyne and scratching a part of her armor. NGH. Die already, you little BRTS. And I'll say it once more, we refuse to die. A powerful pulse radiated from Naruto in resonance to his declaration, freeing the duo yet again, wasting no time to run away yet again. You'll never escape from me. The chase took them to an arid region covered in reddish-orange dirt rising above the lava below, resulting in a hot atmosphere, which is Hotland. Naruto and Co ran past a sentry where they caught a glance of Sans taking a nap. Undyne stopped to look at the sleeping skeleton in angry disbelief, an opportunity the humans and wolf pup didn't waste to outpace as they ran across wooden bridge hung over lava and soon reached the other side. Hearing the sound of metal clanging alerted them that Undyne has resumed pursuit, and looked back only to see something strange going on with her. She was panting quite heavily and stumbling a lot. Breathe armor too hot, but I can't give up, Undyne barely wheezed out before collapsing on the ground. What happened to her? Asked Frisk. Naruto hummed in thought. Considering where we are right now, my guess is that the heat of place affected her armor, plus her traits as a fish makes this a very bad place for her to be in. Frisk then said something which made Naruto look at her in disbelief. Then let's help her. Frisk-chan, I can understand that you're a nice person and I really admire that part of you. But she would end up trying to kill us if we do help her, Naruto pointed out the potential issue. But we can't just leave her here. Either. It wouldn't feel right. I would feel guilty if something bad happened to her like this. Naruto ran a hand through his spiky hair as he went over Frisk's protest. She may have made a point, but this was someone who has been trying to kill them ever since they stepped out from Snowdin. He let out a sigh before responding to her. All right then, we'll help her. But be ready to run again should she try to attack us. Frisk beamed upon hearing that and happily hugged Naruto, who blushed. Having not exactly made much contact with females aside from his mom and those working at her restaurant. Thank you, Naruto, I'm so glad you understand. She went over to the water cooler nearby and fetched a plastic cup of cold water before pouring it on Undyne's head, then repeated doing so a few more times. Sure thing, Naruto stammered a bit. The female knight let out a low groan before rising to her feet. Ugh, what happened? Where am I? Undyne saw the two humans who she was after, but took note of Frisk holding a plastic cup in her hand and the water cooler close by, while Naruto stared at her silently with a hand on his sheath Bokken and Nikken standing next to him and growling lowly. They stared at each other in silence without uttering a single word and not budging an inch, with Frisk feeling even more nervous and Naruto getting tense. This continued for a few moments longer until someone finally moved, and it was Undyne, but she turned away from the children and wolf pup to walk back the same way they came in order to return to Waterfall, although Undyne glanced over her shoulder to look at Naruto before continuing on her way. Naruto let go of the Bokken while letting out a sign of relief, and here I was expecting her to attack us again, glad to be wrong. Yeah, Frisk looked at Naruto and noticed something. Hey Naruto, your left eye has stopped glowing. It has? Naruto used the camera of his phone to check and saw nothing. I've been wondering for a while, but I can't but feel that we've changed. Just what happened to us? Asked Frisk confusedly. I don't know. Naruto looked at his bandaged hand and sensed the feeling currently sleeping within and ready to awaken at a moment's notice. He noticed that it reacted very strongly when he desired to live, to defy his limitations and go beyond, an instinct formerly dormant until now. But I can take a guess that we awakened something within ourselves out of determination. The blonde's eyes widened in realization of many things, unaware of something inside of the waste pack is awakening with the sound of a metallic chain shattering. While walking along the pathway, Naruto couldn't help but think that the Hotland is literally living up to its name due to the climate. Naruto and Frisk kept wiping the sweat from their foreheads before it dripped into their eyes, and Nikken was panting a lot because of the heat around them. Man, it really is hot here, said Naruto, again wiping the sweat off. Frisk was fanning herself. You're right, it's like we're at an underground volcano, Nikken yipped in response as he panted from the heat. We better make our way through there quickly or we might end up getting dehydrated, Naruto pointed out. The trio continued on their way until coming across an intersection where they saw a tall white building ahead of them. To the north are a pair of guards dressed in knightly armor that are currently barring the way, and to the south is a pathway leading to somewhere they don't know quite yet. Spotting a nearby save point, Naruto went to interact with it. Seeing such a strange laboratory in a place like this, you're filled with determination. Save? Yes/no. Confirming the save, Naruto went to confront the guards but were told to not let anyone pass under command from Undyne so as to corner the humans running about. Deciding to take an alternate route, the group took the east path towards the laboratory but ended up getting into another jam. The door won't open and I don't see a door handle to use to open it, said Naruto, observing said door and knocking on it to see that it's made of metal. We have 2 ways blocked with a third leading to who knows where. I'm up for suggestions. Frisk hummed and thought before coming up with an idea. Let's call Papyrus, he might be able to help us. Sounds about right, especially since we don't have Sans phone number on either of our phones, Naruto shrugged. Frisk dialed Papyrus's number and called it. They didn't have to wait long for the ever-friendly skeleton to answer it with happiness in his voice. Hello humans, the great Papyrus is honored to have been called by you. Hello Papyrus, we're at Hotland and don't really know where else to go as some of the pathways are kinda blocked and hoping you could help us out, said Frisk. Of course. I would love to help my friends and not annoying dog. I even have a great plan to make you and Undyne friends, said Papyrus excitedly. Are you sure about this? Asked Naruto worriedly, not feeling keen on encountering the spear-wielding knight in case she tries to attack them again. Absolutely. The great Papyrus will never steer you wrongly. Okay, but where would we meet you? Asked Frisk curiously, as she was more for it compared to Naruto. Since you're both close to the entrance to Hotland, take the southern path of the first crossroads to the end where you will meet the river person. He will give you a boat ride to anywhere. Have him transport you to Waterfall, then you make your way to the quiet area and take the leftmost path which will lead you to Undyne's home. That's where I'll be waiting to introduce you to her, said Papyrus. Okay Papyrus, we'll be coming over, said Frisk. I can't wait to see you again, said Papyrus before ending the call. Are you sure about this? She might attack us again, said Naruto with a frown. Frisk nodded in response, very sure. If we let her understand that we're not enemies of the monsters, then she could even be our friend just like Papyrus. Fine, I hope you're right about this, said Naruto in resignation. Returning to the crossroads, the group took the southern path till they arrived at a riverbank where they encountered a mysterious figure donning a purple hooded cloak but couldn't see the face standing on a wooden boat. The hooded person turned towards them and spoke. Tra-la-la, I am the riverman, or is that the river woman? It doesn't matter. I love to ride in my boat, would you care to join me? Asked the river person. Yes please, could you take us to Waterfall? Asked Naruto. Climb aboard and we'll be off. The group got on the boat and it proceeded to move along the river without the use of oars or motor. It was a quiet trip with only the sound of water and the river person making some strange mutterings like one of having forgotten to wear their many pairs of pants today till they arrived at their destination. Thank you for getting us here, said Frisk. Come again sometime, tra-la-la, the river person replied. The trio made their way up the path, past Jerson's shop to return to the quiet area where they took the leftmost pathway to find Papyrus standing before a house. The building appears to be designed to resemble an angry fish, with the door being the mouth and the windows as eyes. Naruto spotted a rather familiar dummy placed at the side and was about to examine it if not for Papyrus noticing their arrival. Oh ho, you have finally arrived. Are you two ready to hang out with Undyne? I have a plan to make you two great friends, asked Papyrus. Yes we are, said Frisk with a nod. As ready as we'll ever be, Naruto muttered lowly. Okay, stand behind me. The children complied with the skeleton whispering over his shoulder, PSSST, make sure to give her this. He held out a bone wrapped in a red bough. She loves these. Papyrus knocked on the door and didn't have to wait long as the door opened and Undyne came out, no longer in her armor but dressed in a black tank top, blue jeans and boots. Hi Papyrus. Ready for your extra private, one-on-one training today? Asked Undyne. Papyrus nodded eagerly. You bet I am, and I brought some friends along. he stood to the side to reveal Naruto and Frisk. "Hi, I don't think we've," Undyne trailed off upon seeing the humans and wolf pup. No one said a single word and the tension was so thick that one could cut it like a knife through butter. The one to finally break the silence was Undyne herself. "Why don't you three come in?" Undyne went inside with Papyrus wiping his feet on the doormat in a funny way before following afterwards with the rest in tow. The interior of the house was quite simple really, consisting of a kitchen with a table, some chairs, a large sword, a piano, and a window on the left side of the house. There was also another door besides the one serving as the entrance leading to another room. "Here Undyne, my friends brought a gift for you on their own." Papyrus presented the bone to Undyne who received it awkwardly. "Thanks, I'll put it with the rest." Undyne went to a kitchen drawer and pulled it open to reveal even more bones before putting it amongst them and closing afterwards. "So, are we ready to start?" "Whoopsie doopsie. I just remembered, I have to go to the bathroom. You three have fun." Papyrus suddenly dove through the window, smashing through the glass panes. Naruto looked at the window in shock. "Did he just? Why did he do that?" asked Frisk confusedly. They turned to Undyne who was looking at them with a frown. "So why are you two here, to rub in my defeat in my face? To humiliate me further?" asked Undyne. Frisk shook her head in response. "Not at all, we just wanted to make sure that you're doing okay after what happened over at Hotland." "Is that so? And I bet you're hoping that we would be friends afterwards." "Well, it would be far better than being enemies," Naruto pointed out. "Like that's gonna happen, why would I be friends with either of you when you're the enemy of everyone's hopes and dreams?" "I will never be your friend, now get out of my house," said Undyne, making Naruto frown a bit and Frisk look down in sadness. Suddenly, Papyrus poked his head through the window. "Oh dang, what a shame, and here I thought that Undyne could be friends with you. But I guess I overestimated her, she's just not up to the challenge." Then he left before Undyne could say anything. "Challenge? Papyrus, wait." Undyne turned towards the humans with a glint in her eye. "He thinks I can't be friends with you too? Fuhuhu. I'll show him that I can become friends with you two losers. Listen here, we're not going to be just friends." "We aren't?" asked Frisk nervously. "Of course not, we're going to be besties. I'll make you like me so much you won't be able to think of anyone else. It is the perfect revenge." Undyne pumped her fist as if proud of her plan. So that was his plan all along. Gotta hand it to Papyrus, that's pretty smart of him, thought Naruto. Undyne smiled politely, which is a sharp contrast to her usual behavior at this point. "It's so nice to have you here, why don't you take a seat or make yourself at home?" Frisk, being a naturally curious girl, decided to explore the place while Naruto decided to sit down and look around bit. Frisk discovered several interesting things during her look around, a drawer full of the basic kitchen utensils along with tiny swords, axes, spears, nunchucks and other stuff. She also took note of the refrigerator that actually heats food instead of cooling, the large sword leaning against the wall. Frisk went on to check the drawer where Undyne kept Papyrus bone presents only to find the white dog from before there and the bones were gone. The dog winked at Frisk before she awkwardly closed the drawer back. Meanwhile, Undyne wanted to ask Naruto something which had been bugging her for quite a while. "There's something I've been wanting to ask you." "What is it?" asked Naruto curiously. "During our fight, you were suddenly able to block my attacks and break free of my spell several times with the other human, and let's not forget about one of your eyes were glowing. What's up with that?" Naruto hovered a hand over his left eye with a small frown on his face. "I'm not too sure myself, all I knew was that I didn't want either of us to get hurt no matter what. Then I felt something come over me and I performed feats which I shouldn't be able to do normally." Since then, he could feel that strange power within him and simply waiting to be called upon. Undyne snorted in response. "So you just awakened some sort of power, sounds about right according to Alphys' archive on human history. So where did you learn to use the wooden sword like that?" "Actually my dad taught me. It's called the Gale form, which focuses majorly on defense and ensures one's survival despite the severe lack in offense," Naruto explained, albeit feeling a twinge of pain in his heart upon recalling the time spent training with his father. "Sounds like a strong warrior," bet he's got some sweet moves. Naruto smiled sadly. Yeah, he did. Before any more could be said, Frisk returned to sit next to Naruto. Now that you're both comfortable, let me get you something to drink. Undyne went to the fridge and brought out several items which she placed on the kitchen counter. All set, now which would you like? Naruto made to get up when Undyne suddenly threw a spear which pierced through the table, breaking it into half and surprising both humans at the sudden expected action. Hey, don't get up. You're the guests, so sit down and relax, said Undyne irately. But how do we let you know exactly we want from here? Asked Frisk, fearfully clutching onto a sleeve of Naruto's hoodie. Undyne sweated at the point made. How about you simply point at what you two want? You can even use the spear. Okay. Naruto pulled the spear off the table with some effort and held it in both hands before looking at the kitchen counter. So far there's sugar, soda, green cylinder labeled hot chocolate and tea. Given that the soda won't be the best choice, he pointed the spear at the cocoa. You want the hot chocolate? Hang on, I just remembered that it's empty. I stopped buying any more since it's a hassle. Plus, Askari keeps getting marshmallows in his beard. Undyne laughed at the memory of it. Then in that case, we'll go with the tea. Naruto pointed at said item. Okay then, give me a moment to make some. Undyne went on to prepare the tea while the others waited until she was finally done as she placed the 2 cups of tea on what's left of the table before taking her seat at the other side. Thank you, said Frisk. She blew a bit on the tea and took a sip, finding it to be a bit scalding to the tongue but good nonetheless. Naruto sipped on his tea as well, albeit wincing from the heat. It's good, right? Nothing but the best for my absolutely precious friends. Undyne chortled with pride before falling into silence. Hey, you know it's kind of strange that you choose that brand of tea. Golden flower tea, that's Askari's favorite. Really? Asked Naruto with interest. Yeah, now that I think about it, you kinda remind me of him. You're both total weenies. Naruto smiled in response. I think I'll take that as a compliment. It should be. Undyne was deep on thought for some time before speaking up again. I was a pretty hot-headed kid back then. I actually tried to fight Askari to prove myself as the strongest in the underground. You fought Askari? Asked Frisk with surprise. Hey, yeah, with emphasis on the word tried. I couldn't land a single hit on him and he didn't even fight back, which made me feel even more humiliated. So, what happened next? Asked Naruto. Afterwards, he actually apologized to me and said something goofy. Excuse me, do you want to know how to beat me? I said yes, and from then on, he began to train me. One day during practice, I knocked him down, which made me feel bad. But he was actually smiling. I had never met anyone happy to get there but kicked. Long story short, he kept training me and now I'm the head of the Royal Guard, which now makes me the one who gets to train the dorks to fight like Papyrus. We met him. He really wants to be a member of the Royal Guard, said Frisk. Undyne nodded, albeit reluctantly. Yeah, but if I'm to be honest, I don't think I can let him into the Royal Guard. Why not? Frisk looked at her confusedly. Naruto remained silent as he has a very good idea why she said that. It's just, well, he's not weak in any way, he's actually very tough. The thing is, he's just too innocent and nice. I mean, look, he was supposed to capture the 2 of you but ended up becoming friends instead. I can't send him into the battlefield, he would be torn into small smiling pieces. Oh, Frisk now understood where Undyne's reason came from. She was looking out for the kind skeleton. That was why I started to give him cooking lesson, to try to get him to choose another path in life, you know. We understand, Papyrus is a kind person and I can tell he would prefer settling things peacefully from what I can tell about him, said Naruto. Undyne nodded in agreement. Then she noticed that their teacups were empty. Oh, it seems like spoke for so long that your cups are empty. I'll get some more. She got and was walking towards the stove when she suddenly stopped halfway, much to the confusion of Naruto and Frisk. What's the matter, Undyne? Asked Frisk. Papyrus is cooking lesson. He was supposed to have that right now. Undyne suddenly yelled out, much to their surprise, and if he's not here to have it. She turned towards the 2 children, making them feel nervous. Then you will have to have it for him. Naruto and Frisk blinked in confusion with the former uttering one word, huh. Undyne leapt into the air to land atop the kitchen counter and swept across it, knocking the items to the ground before jumping off. That's right. Nothing brought Papyrus and I closer than cooking. Which means if I do give you his lesson, we'll become closer than you can ever imagine. She laughed out loud, afraid. Don't be, we're gonna be great friends. Undyne jumped in between the two to grab them by the back of their collars to lift them off their seats before jumping back to the counter and placing them before it. Let's start with the sauce. Undyne stomped a foot on the ground to make vegetables drop from above onto a chopping board. Envision these vegetables as your greatest enemy and PND them to dust with your fists. I haven't done this before, said Frisk nervously. Well, I have. Remember I said that my mom's a cook and owns a restaurant, so I know my way around the kitchen and learned to cook a few recipes. Naruto spoke up confidently. He opened up the drawer and took out a kitchen knife and a few bowls. I got this. He began to chop the vegetables one by one into little pieces at a rapid pace, much to their amazement. That's so fast, said Frisk in awe. That's pretty good, punk. How I take over from here since I can do it a lot faster, said Undyne. Naruto shook his head in response. No need for that. Mom told me that rushing through cooking won't make a tasty meal. How about you and Frisk work on the noodles? That way everything would be done sooner than when done one at a time. You got a point there, come on then. Undyne lifted Frisk by the collar again and carried her over to the stove. Now to add the noodles. She stomped the ground again to make a pot of water and a pack of noodles drop down onto the stove. Homemade noodles taste the best, but I just buy store brands, they're the cheapest. Anyways, let's put them into the pot. She handed the pack to Frisk, who was nervous. Oh okay, since it's her first time cooking. Frisk took things carefully as she put the noodles into the pot one at a time till they were all inside. Nice, said Undyne with a sweat drop. Now it's time to stir the pasta. As a general rule of thumb, the harder you stir then the better it tastes. Ready? Let's do it. Frisk grabbed the ladle and proceeded to stir the noodles. Stir harder. Undyne demanded, with the girl complying but wasn't satisfied. Harder. Harder. Ugh, let me do it. Undyne conjured a spear and struck at the pot, denting it all over. Fuhuhu, that's the stuff. Everything okay over there? Asked Naruto, having heard the banging sounds of metal while still preparing the sauce. Everything is going perfectly, said Undyne, although Frisk looked a bit unsure if they were doing the right thing. Alright then, I'm almost done with the sauce here. Perfect, now for the final step. Turn up the heat and let the stovetop symbolize your burning passion. Let your hopes and dreams blaze. Don't hold anything back. I'll do my best. Frisk took hold of the knob and began turning it to the right, with the flames beneath the pot getting bigger and hotter. Make it hotter, said Undyne. Frisk continued turning the knob and making the flames bigger, and like always the knight wasn't satisfied. Hotter, darn it. Hotter. Naruto was finally done and carrying the pot over. Hey guys, I'm finished with the sauce, so let's put it onto the... He trailed off when he saw what's best described as a bonfire with the stove. What the stop? The flames are too dash. Whoosh. There was a bright heated flash of light which engulfed the entire room before dissipating to reveal several parts of the house on fire, and Undyne's face was covered in soot while Frisk somehow emerged unscathed, but Naruto noted Frisk's soul returning to her body and figured that she must have shielded herself instinctively. Do I need to ask how a supposedly normal cooking lesson led to the house being on fire? Asked Naruto, putting away the pot of uncooked sauce on the counter since there isn't a point to it anymore. We kinda got carried away. Man, no wonder Papyrus sucks at cooking, said Undyne sheepishly with a nervous smile which faded away. Oh, who am I kidding? I really screwed this one, didn't I? What do you mean? Asked Frisk confusedly. I can't force you two to like me, some people don't just get along so easily. I can understand if you feel that way about me, and if we can't become friends then that's okay with me. Undyne, Naruto looked at the knight sadly. Because if we're not friends it means I can destroy you without regret. Undyne took a stance and conjured a spear into her hands while making Naruto and Frisk's souls emerge from their bodies to signal a fight, much to their confusion, and the blonde was vocal about it. What are you doing, Undyne? asked Naruto. I've been defeated, my house is in shambles, and I even failed to befriend you. I don't care if you're my guests anymore. A final rematch with both sides going all out. It is the only way I can regain my lost pride, so come at me and hit with everything you got. Nga. Frisk turned to Naruto worriedly. Naruto, what do we do? Naruto didn't respond to the question. Show me what you've got, human. Undyne demanded. Very well then. Naruto dashed towards Undyne with a fist reared back much to Frisk's shock and lashed out with a punch once close enough. And tapped her leg with little to no strength behind it. Undyne blinked in confusion. That's it? That is all the intent you could muster to attack me with? Naruto was silent before responding. Yeah, that's because you aren't an enemy to begin with. And you also mistaken about something, you didn't fail to become friends with us. Frisk spoke up in agreement. Yeah, Monster Kid has said many good things about you, with one of them being you would never hurt an innocent person. The first time may have been rough, but now we know so much about you that the last thing we would ever want to do is hurt you. Heh, you know what? Undyne dropped her spear for it to fade away. I don't actually want to hurt you either. At first, I hated your stupid saccharine shtick, but the way you hit me just now, it reminded me of someone I used to train with. You mean Askari? Asked Frisk. Yeah, I realize now that you two aren't just wimpy losers. Undyne grinned at them. You're wimpy losers with big hearts just like him. Naruto and Frisk smiled in response. Listen, no doubt that both of you and Askari are fated to fight. But knowing him, he probably doesn't want to fight. Just talk to him, I'm sure you can persuade him to let you go home. Eventually, some mean human would show up here and I would take their soul instead. But just know that if you hurt Askari, I'll take the human souls cross the border and beat the CRP out of you too. 'Cause that's what friends do, right? Naruto smiled and nodded in agreement. Yeah, friends watch out for each other after all. Unknown to them was that Naruto's hand used to hit Undyne was shaking, but he had hidden it behind his back to prevent them from seeing it. Fuhuhu, now let's get out of this flaming house, said Undyne, receiving eager nods of agreement from the two children. Everyone quickly exited from the house, which has now become charcoal black and could still see the flames burning inside through the windows. Nikken leapt into Naruto's arms as the wolf pup had been waiting outside the whole time and sorely missed him. Sorry, we kept you waiting, Nikken, said Naruto with the wolf pup happily licking at his face in response. I gotta admit it was a lot of fun. We'll have to hang out again another time. But somewhere else, said Undyne happily. It would be nice, said Frisk with a smile. In the meantime, I guess I'll hang with Papyrus. If you need any help, you can call Papyrus so I can talk to ya. Well, see ya later, punks. Undyne then took off running, most likely for Snowdin. Glad to see that we're friends with Undyne now. Guess Papyrus' plan worked after all, said Naruto with a smile, no longer having to worry about being pursued by her anymore, but it doesn't mean that he could let his guard down anytime soon. What do we do now? Asked Frisk. Best we head back to Hotland and try to find our way forward from there. Okay. Naruto along with Frisk and Nikken made their back to the river person to transport them to Hotland, where the guards were still barring their way. So, they went to the lab once more, and this time the doors actually opened automatically on their own, much to the group's surprise, but decided to go inside since there wasn't any other route available to take. Oh, it's so dark here. Like Frisk said, the interior of the lab is dark with hardly any lighting. Hang on, I'll use the torch on my phone. Naruto brought out the phone from his pocket and activated the torchlight feature of it. They continued on their way when they came across something peculiar. The trio came upon a large mainframe computer with the monitor, and it was displaying them as they moved around. Is that us? Asked Frisk. Naruto waved his hand and the monitor displayed him doing so, causing him to look around for any cameras and not seeing any. Could it be that something has been watching us? I don't know. I think we should make our way out of here quickly before we end up meeting the person who has been watching us. Receiving a nod of agreement from Frisk, they hastened through the room only to stop upon hearing a door open ahead of them, and soon after, the entire room lit up for them to see who it is. Before the trio is what appears to be a reptilian monster with yellow scales and seems to be in a hunched-over posture, wearing a pair of round glasses and a white lab coat, and judging by the eyelashes, she's a female. The monster seems to have noticed their presence and began to panic. Oh my god, I didn't expect to see you so soon. Especially right after I restored the power to the lab, haven't yet showered, the place is a mess, and, the monster managed to finally calm herself down before turning to the children and wolf pup. Hiya. I'm Dr. Alphys, Askari's royal scientist, said the now introduced Alphys. Alphys, where have I heard that name before? Naruto muttered lowly. Undyne said that name a few times before, said Frisk. Oh right, I remember now. Alphys saw the children whispering to each other and felt a bit nervous before speaking up. I am not one of the bad guys. I've actually been observing you two ever since you stepped out of the ruins. Naruto blinked with surprise. That long? Alphys nodded shyly. Your fights, friendships, everything. I was going to stop you at first, but watching someone from a screen kinda makes you want to root for them instead. So now I want to help you too. I can use my knowledge to easily guide you through Hotland right to Askari's castle. Frisk perked up at that. Really? That would help us a lot, thank you. Well, there's a tiny issue that you need to know. What issue is it? Asked Naruto curiously. A long time ago, I created a robot named Mettaton for the purpose of entertainment. But I kinda added some anti-human combat features. Naruto slapped a palm to his face. You gotta be kidding me, out of the frying pan and into the fire. I tried to remove them but I ended up making a slight error and made him bloodthirsty. Oh dear, Frisk stood next to Naruto with worry and whined a bit. It's okay, everything should be fine as long as he doesn't find you, said Alphys assuredly. Bang! Something made a strange sound within the walls close by which everyone noted confusedly. What's that sound? Alphys wondered. Bang! Then the scientist began to realize what was happening. Oh no, suddenly the room went dark again as the sound of something smashing through the wall was heard and a deep baritone voice spoke up. Oh yes. The spotlight came on to shine down upon what appears to be a large gray robot in the shape of a rectangular box with a grid of lights which change colors at the top. It has 4 dials along the bottom of its body, a single leg which ends in a wheel, and 2 segmented robotic arms which end in white gloves. The robot was currently holding a cordless microphone in hand. Welcome beauties to today's quiz show, said the robot as a large neon sign saying Game Show was lowered above him and multicolored disco lights shone all over the room. Oh boy, I can just tell that it's gonna be a great show. Everyone give a big hand for our wonderful contestants today. The robot clapped his hands while the sound of applause could be heard in the background. I'm guessing he's Mettaton, said Naruto. He sounds like those announcers I see on TV, said Frisk. Never played before. Well, it's simple sweethearts. There's only one rule, answer correctly or you die. No sooner Mettaton said those words that Naruto and Frisk's souls emerged from their bodies to signal a fight. Naruto was quick to select ACT and use check to get some information on Mettaton so as to know how exactly to handle him. Mettaton. His metal body renders him invulnerable to attack. Oh boy, this is gonna be tricky, said Naruto. Let's start with an easy one. Mettaton rolled to the side and snapped his fingers to make a large screen to lower down next to him before taking out a sheet of paper to read off. What's the prize for answering correctly? You have 30 seconds to answer. Then 4 possible answers appeared on the screen. Naruto could easily tell that selecting Be Mercy is just asking for the penalty and the other 2 are no good. That's when he noticed that Alphys was using her hands to form the letter D, which was hinting that the answer is more questions, and so decided to select it, which turned out to be correct. Right. Sounds like you get it, said Mettaton. Here's your terrific prize. What's the king's full name? Naruto and Frisk didn't really need help for this question as they chose C. Askari Dreamer as the correct answer. A terrific answer. But enough about you, let's talk about me. What are robots made of? Naruto selected Be Metal Magic out of the others as the most logical choice and got it right. Too easy for you, huh? Here's another easy one for you. this time Naruto and Frisk were knocked for a loop as the next question was actually a math problem and the former knew that he couldn't solve it in time and relied on Alphys by choosing D 32.058 minutes as the correct answer. Wonderful, I'm astounded folks. Don't count your victory. He snapped his fingers for the screen to display a large jar full of flies. How many flies are in this jar? With another question requiring a lot of time to solve, they had Alphys give them the right answer, which is A54. Is it me or are these questions getting harder? Asked Naruto. They really are and my head is hurting a bit, said Frisk. You two are so lucky today. Now how about a memory game? Which monster is this? The screen displayed half the image of a familiar monster. Naruto was instantly about to select a Frogget when he saw Alphys shaking her head rapidly before signaling with her hands to select D. Mettaton. Considering that she has been right so far, he chose D and the screen suddenly zoomed out to reveal Mettaton actually wearing a t-shirt with Frogget's face on it. That question nearly tricked us to choose the wrong answer, said Frisk. Naruto nodded in agreement. Yeah, and it was a good one too. I'm so flattered that you remembered, said Mettaton happily, but can you get this one? Would you smooch a ghost? Naruto immediately shivered at the thought of doing such a thing that even Alphys wasn't hinting a thing. What's worse is that all of the options said heck yeah and the timer was rather increasing instead of counting down. Casting caution to the wind, they chose any of the options which were all correct to begin with. Great answer, I love it. Well I don't, Naruto grumbled to himself. Here's a simple one, how many letters are in Mettaton? The N's kept increasing with the same going for the answers in the options. Alphys hinted for them to choose C, which was the correct answer being 70, of course that was easy for you. Alright then, time to bring out the big guns. In the dating simulation game, Mew Mew Kissy Cutie, what is Mew Mew's favorite food? Asked Mettaton. Alphys suddenly waved her hand excitedly. Oh, I know this one. It's snail ice cream. She began to explain quite a lot about the game before realizing what she just did and started to sweat nervously. Oh, said Frisk worriedly. Mettaton sked several times at the royal scientist. Alphys, you haven't been helping our contestants, have you? And no, Alphys looked anywhere but at the robot with that response. You should have said so, my dear. I'll ask a question that you know the answer to, said Mettaton. Alphys shook her head, hoping that it's not what she think it is. Who does Alphys have a crush on? Naruto and Frisk looked at the options on the screen while the scientist pleaded with them not to answer the question. Even the timer was paused for them to make a choice. Naruto hummed thoughtfully as he went over the options and is finding it difficult to choose which one. What do you think is the right answer, Frisk-chan? Asked Naruto. Frisk looked at the options carefully a couple of times before making up her mind. I would go with D, it seems like the best option so far. You too, huh? Naruto turned to Mettaton. We'll go with D. Don't know since we just met Alphys and don't know her that well. That is the correct answer. Mettaton announced. Alphys breathed a sigh of relief at that. Dr. Alphys has a crush on the unknowable. You see, she believes there is someone out there who she thinks is cute and interesting. Hello, theoretical person. Dr. Alphys likes you, too bad you're non-existent. Then there was a laugh track played in the background. Alphys looked a bit offended. Hey, I've done research about this. There are alternate universes out there. Someday, maybe I could meet them. Mettaton retorted to that. You said the exact same thing about Mew Mew Kissy Cutie, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Person, if you're out there, how about giving us a sign? Right now, there was silence save for the crickets chirping. That settles that, doesn't it? Alphys slumped a bit. Well. With Dr. Alphys helping you. The show has no dramatic tension. We can't go on like this. But. This was just the pilot episode. Next up, more drama. More romance. More bloodshed. Until next time, darlings. Mettaton withdrew his hands and leg into himself before launching into the air like a rocket and smashing through the roof to who knows where. Well, that was certainly something, said Alphys awkwardly. Oh boy, now we got to watch out for another major one who wants our souls while trying to find our way out of here, Naruto groaned out. I could help you. If we exchange phone numbers then we could keep in contact while I help navigate you through Hotland. Sounds like a good idea, let's do it then. Naruto took out his phone with Frisk doing the same, but Alphys gasped in shock at the sight of the latter's phone. Where did you get that phone? It's practically ancient and doesn't even have texting, said Alphys in shock. Well, Frisk didn't know exactly how to explain about it. No need to say anything else, just let me take a look at it and see what I can do. I can do the same thing for yours if you'd like, said Alphys. I'm not too sure, my mom will be very upset if I do anything that voids the warranty on the phone, said Naruto reluctantly. And no need to worry, nothing like that would happen. Naruto and Frisk handed the phones over to Alphys, albeit unsurely from the former, before the professor made her way to the room to apply modifications to the phones. I hope that I made the right choice, Naruto muttered worriedly. How about we take a look around while she's busy? I wonder what other inventions she has, said Frisk. Naruto shrugged in response, might as well while the time away instead of just standing around. The duo took to exploring the place, noting the fridge full of instant noodles which Naruto fought the urge to help himself to some, and the large bag of dog food next to it. They took the escalator to the second floor to come across shelves full of books which were labeled human history. They opened some of the books to discover that they were actually comic books instead and didn't exactly strike them as accurate. Guess it explains Undyne's knowledge of humans, said Naruto with a sweat drop. Naruto, come and take a look at this, Frisk called out to him to approach her at a table which held a stack of letters. Look at these. Naruto went ahead to check. Frogget, Snowy, Doggo, these are all letters from the monsters we've met so far, but they're unopened. I wonder why she hasn't opened them yet. I don't think we should pry on this, let's head back down and wait for Alphys, Naruto suggested. Okay. They took the descending escalator back down to the ground floor and waited by the computer. It wasn't too long that Alphys returned with both phones in hand and a proud look on her face. Here, I upgraded them for you. I made both of them able to access the dimensional boxes from wherever you are, and I even added a keychain for one of them and special apps in both. I also signed you both up for the Underground's #1 social network, so we're officially friends now, said Alphys giddily. Thanks Alphys, this will definitely help us a lot along the way, said Naruto gratefully. Frisk nodded in agreement. Yes, thank you very much. Alphys felt shy at how kind they are, which made her look down at the ground a bit. I think I need to wash up in the bathroom, I'll call you later. She scampered over to the aforementioned bathroom and locked the door. Naruto shrugged his shoulders before turning to Frisk and Nikken. Alright then, let's head on through to the other side and keep an eye out of Mettaton. No doubt he's got some plan in mind for us. Okay Naruto, said Frisk with Nikken barking in agreement. The trio made their way out of the lab through the other doorway as they resumed their journey towards the barrier and the eventual encounter with Askari. Elsewhere atop a cliff in Hotland, a black silhouette donning a hooded cloak was surveying the landscape when it suddenly perked up and raised its head to sniff at the air a couple of times. Sniff sniff, this scent, I recognize it. This is the scent of humans, the figure growled as it brandished a rapier in hand. They have made a grave mistake coming here, one that shall cost them their very lives. The figure leapt off the cliff to the bottom below as it began to track the source of the scent. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Hussbek on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.